Oh, all right, fam. How's everyone doing today? We are here. We are back. We are live on a Tuesday morning, and we have a new coffee mug. Shout out to my wife. She got a new Stitch coffee mug. Compliments for the morning climb here as we are enjoying him back on a Tuesday. JD stepping in. Duel Links, you're cool. Lets us get a sneak peek into what the game designers think the colors combo should do. There's a lot of good answers to start off the question today. So yeah, listen, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. Last week I wasn't able to stream on a Tuesday morning. I was I guess a little travel bugged from being away all weekend. I was kind of catching up on like everything I missed out on, and it was a lot. So we just didn't stream last week in the morning, but we're back, and we're gonna have a guest in the second hour of the show. Katie from the Lorekeepers Inn will be joining us this evening or this morning. Sorry. Hopefully she brings her coffee. I know she likes coffee too. But yeah, I'm so excited to kind of be back. I got a lot to talk about today. How can you wear that? Last place in wait. All right, listen. I'm okay and comfortable with us being last place in the Metro Division because we were never going to make the playoffs this year. Under Jonathan Tortorello, we were never going to win a Stanley Cup, and we were never going to be good because he's a terrible coach. And I am wearing this because I am officially, as of his firing, back on the Flyers train because I couldn't stand him and I didn't want anything to deal with him. But it's going to be an off season. You know, I have some restored faith. Let's hope we hire the right guy. That's what I'm worried about. But yeah, I'm a Flyers fan through and through. So it's easy to wear Flyers on a morning when we're kind of like just chilly. It's not like cold out, but it's definitely not warm either. So it's nice. It's sweatshirt weather. Okay. It's sweatshirt weather. But yeah, thanks for everyone coming out this morning. Already hanging out, chilling, vibing. A lot of fun. As I was saying, Katie's going to be coming in and we're going to be talking about some mental health and stuff like that. It was her subject that she brought up to the table, and I think it's a good one. I think it's something nice we can talk about during Awareness Month and things like that. So we're going to hit on those, but I need, listen, Meta Report normally comes out on Mondays. It didn't come out yesterday because we did the interview with Nunez, but it's coming out tomorrow, and we're going to get a bit of a sneak peek of it today because, in all honesty, I wanted to express how excited I was about this weekend's meta with a live audience with you guys hanging out because it is incredible. Honestly, if we go to look at this and we really take a glance, guys, this meta report is outstanding. If you can see that, if you don't want to count all of it, that is 17 different decks that made a top cut this weekend. And like, if you guys remember the last meta report, in one category was like 30 Ruby Sapphire decks. So the idea that we went from a meta game that had 30 of one deck in a given weekend to a meta game that through 7 different tournaments, we don't have a single deck with double digit and top cuts. I'm sorry. The Hiram Ban was correct. We can say goodbye to him forever, all right? Because this is exactly the type of game that I want to play. This is exactly the kind of game that gives opportunity for anyone to be creative, for anyone to really bring what they like, what they enjoy. And, I get it. Listen, I'll be honest. There's probably only one camp out there looking at that graph that doesn't like it, and it's Sapphire Steel fans. Okay. Yes, Hiram is gone. Yes, Fortisphere is gone. They got hit the hardest. It's not shocking that they didn't really make it. The only list in there was a Kiwi Birds aggro list that kind of made a top 16 or a top 8. I can't remember exactly which one right now, but yeah, so Sapphire Steel went from being basically the most dominant in combination in the set between aggro and item combo and things like that to a measly 1. Big drop off. But at the cost of that, we got a incredibly versatile diversity metagame. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah, it's funny. This is kind of the things that we're kind of here to talk about too. Is like we're gonna be talking about the biggest winners, but throughout we can kind of talk about the biggest losers also, which is, in my humble opinion, that's why this is the question of the day. How do you feel about Duel Link cards? Right? Like we are now 6 weeks in to Arceus Island, and if we're being honest, they're not that good. You know, we've seen Pete Space Pirate from time to time. We've seen Diablo show up, you know, in the Emerald Amethyst decks. Yeah, I don't know. Is there, am I missing something? Like, is there anything else that came that's like, oh yeah, Troubadour? All right, Troubadour. Let's not forget about Troubadour, right? But for there being 30 of them or something like that, maybe 32. I can't remember the exact number. They're pretty Cobra. All right, Cobras are good. All right, we're right. You're right. Cobra. That's fine. So yeah, there's a couple, but you know, for it being a kind of a moment, right? In Disney Lorcana, we get this new mechanic, this new thing, something new to like just express creativity and kind of give design purposes. I don't know that it's stuck, right? I don't know that it's worked. Obviously, there's always time for more, but you know, 6 weeks of analysis, it's tough. I think the Duel Links are kind of a miss. Honestly, I think they're kind of a miss. We'll see. We'll see what time has. Obviously, Rain Jafar right around the corner. So that's exciting. You know, kind of crazy to say that, but 6 weeks into set 7, 6 weeks from set 8, we're at that middle ground part. I think that the spoiler season is going to be starting probably around the second week of May. You didn't hear from me, but maybe, who knows? So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. But you know, I just wanted to get into it. I mean, honestly, if you see this and you see this, like this chart, when I was making this chart, oh man, guys, I was just so excited because it really did. It just kind of told everyone that Hiram just was holding everything down. The idea that all of these decks kind of came out really showed the creativity, showed that, you know, in a reaction to the world saying Diablo is going to be the biggest problem ever. I mean, yeah, there's some Emerald Seal here and some Amethyst Emerald here, but like it is not 29 of them as like the top deck. Like that's not even a thing. So like since that's not even a thing, I think it's a win, honestly. I think that, you know, I understand if you're a Hiram fan. I understand if you're a Sapphire Steel fan. Like, I get all that. But if you look at the overall health of the game after a week, this is kind of incredibly promising, honestly. So I'm pretty excited. But today we're going to be talking about some of the biggest winners, right? Like, what are the cards that truly got the win from Hiram Ban? Like, what inks got better? What cards really were able to come out and shine this past weekend that maybe never did? Like, in all honesty, like sometimes here and there, a little bit, you know, little spurts, but some of these cards are just great and they never really got a lot of time to shine before because of the way the metagame is playing out. But now there's a lot more tools to utilize them, and I think that's really cool. So I think that it's nice that with the loss of one of the best cards, if not the best card ever printed in Disney Lorcana in the form of Hiram Flavorsham, we've had a bunch of new cards come out and shine in a big way. So as we get in started that, we're going to be talking about the Ruby cards to start, okay? And like for me this weekend, the Ruby winners were Maui Shark and Moana Island Explorer. That's right. These two cards, obviously Maui Shark was going to be a card that we knew was going to be successful. In the Azurite Sea metagame, DKP came out. He built this Maui Shark combo, like not a combo deck, Maui Shark control deck. And it was all about just really utilizing Maui Shark to the full potential. And with the lack of Hiram and now kind of the understanding that, hey, we have to pivot, we got to move towards a new ink combo or like towards a new like strategy within the ink combo, Maui Shark was going to come out and be big. But the cool thing about this is that this happened not only in Ruby Sapphire, but he also came out to play in Ruby Amethyst. So he was a huge win this past weekend. Lots of Maui Sharks on tables. This, 7-5 is not the easiest card to deal with. It's going to force steel decks to, play a Long Game Zeus again, which maybe not this weekend wasn't a Long Game Zeus weekend, but I imagine that it's going to be a card that's going to be kind of a forced upon thing to play if we're going to have to answer Maui Sharks when they come into play. So yeah, that's definitely the number one Ruby winner for me. But Moana, right? Like Moana Island Explorer here, a set 7 card that honestly, outside of limited, no one really considered, in my humble opinion. But, this 4 cost, 4/3, 1 lore, evasive with the ability Adventurous Spirit. Whenever this character challenges another character, another chosen character of your gain 3 strength this turn. So obviously the big shine for this card in general is the idea of some of the Amethyst cards that have come out and really just instantly became like a meta shift, which is kind of phenomenal to say. If anyone that watched the meta shift video from last week, I talked about pretty much every Amethyst deck in it, and in all of them except for the Steel decks, I had Peter Pan Shadow. Spoiler, he's one of the big winners also. But when you think about Peter Pan Shadow and what he's doing to answer Diablo, you also have to think about, like, hey, what other cards can benefit from Peter Pan Shadow? And Moana was definitely a card that I didn't have on the radar. It was nice to see it when it kind of came out of nowhere, so I thought that was cool because this card kind of like really changes the course of the game in a pretty big way. And her ability like to come in with Rush because of Peter Pan Shadowfinder, take a character out, buff anything else, let you take a second character out. Decks are going to have to be very aware of that play. I think it's very interesting. I think it's cool. I think it's nice to see that in 1 week, literally in days, honestly, like Tuesday morning last week, of almost 2 hours from now, was exactly 1 week since Hiram was banned. And it didn't take very long for people to figure out these new cards and these new interactions to really be successful in opening weekend in giant tournaments. So I think that's exceptional. It's credit to all the players this weekend kind of coming out and really showcasing their creativity, because Moana, again, I don't think it's a card that many people really had on the radar. So it was nice to see that one kind of like really be successful there. The Emerald winners, it's Diablo and Prince John, right? Like, these are the cards that everyone has been crying about. Everyone's been complaining about. How do we answer Prince John? He's miserable. He's awful. I can't believe that we banned Hiram and we still have Prince John. I don't know how many times I read that on the internet this week, and I just I don't know. Do you want a tissue? Because these are great cards, 100% great cards. And no, there is not a million answers to Prince John, and I will agree to that. Like, there's realistically not that many of them. Most of the ones that you want to play are songs, which innately this deck is playing Ursula Deceiver, and they always have an answer. So it's very difficult to actually get the card off the table. But what most decks are learning is that you can play off the top of your deck pretty well. And in all honesty, you can play off the top of your deck better than Emerald Steel can. Emerald Steel is a deck that's like, it can't win the game. It does its very best to lock you out of it. But the truth is that most of the decks in the metagame are just better than Emerald Steel. They just have better cards. So as long as you understand how to get your point, like to your point in the game that where you're positioned well and you can play off the top, these cards aren't as impactful. Yes, they're very good. Yes, Emerald Steel is going to be a deck in the metagame. There's no denying that. But it's not a deck it's not what it once was. Several months ago during, let's say, the Shimmering Skies metagame, obviously this deck was the best deck in the game. But since then, we've had so many cards that came out that interact with this deck so well. Like, Diablo is not the threat that it was in Shimmering Skies. It just isn't. Like, it has a million answers to it. And now there's a million characters that you can play. There's now even better characters that you can utilize Peter Pan Shadowfinder with. Like, all of these things are happening that really keep Diablo in check. And it's crazy because, listen, shout out to Ryan Miles. He has a phenomenal video on this channel about why Diablo was a problem in Shimmering Skies metagame and why it could have been considered to be a ban. But sets 7, set 6, it just gave us the right card. So it's no longer this incredible threat. Can it still win a game by itself? Yeah, sure, it can. A lot of cards can. That's just kind of his life. If you build a deck that you don't want to interact with Diablo, well, you're probably going to lose. Don't do that. Like, don't build a deck that doesn't interact with Diablo. But when you have so much choice, it's not that hard. We can kind of get away with it, right? Which video for Diablo I can probably go and find it in a minute here. But yeah, we had a whole video. Ryan Miles, shout out to Ryan Miles. He's phenomenal. But he really just felt passionate about the ban the bird thing. So I just said, hey, listen, man, have at it. Like, go ahead, show off what you want to show. And I remember when I watched that video, I was like, yeah, like, touche. You're very passionate about this. This video really sticks. It's really good. So I think that at the time, his heart was all in the right place. And I do think, could I make an argument for banning Diablo still? Yeah, sure, I could. But has my mind changed in 6 months? Yeah, it has. Like, I think the game has showed, the creators were very well aware of how good Diablo was in sets 4 and sets 5, and in set 6 and set 7, we just got enough answers to where it's still good. If you can have the best hands and keep your opponent off what they need to interact, then yeah, you're going to win a lot of games. But there's also now like a million characters that just say, whatever, bird, draw your 2 cards. I don't care. So I think that's cool. Now, let's continue, right? Let's move on here. We got the Sapphire cards here. And these, one of these is probably shocking. The other one, probably not as shocking. All Is Found is a card that I've been playing literally since it was released in Baja Blast. I think it's a card that's very fun. I think it's a really nice shiftable option for that deck. There are multiple cards in that deck that can shift and immediately sing All Is Found, and you can kind of like get ahead, and then you can Ink Geyser and then play All Is Found to get ahead again. Like, you can do all these really fun things with the card, and I think it was really being held down in this way because of Hiram. Hiram is just a constant card advantage engine, and with that, you didn't need cards like All Is Found because like it wasn't important. We could just ink every turn because we're drawing a million cards. It's not difficult. What a card like All Is Found does is it creates these moments where now my Sally Azurite Seas, my How Far All Goes, that got to play, give me an ink and move forward. Well, now I can put those cards into my inkwell as well, and I don't have to ink my best cards. If my characters are banished, it's like, okay, I can't get my characters back, right? Like in most cases, we're not playing Hades and crap like that. So when we get to just utilize our characters very similar to Great Stone Dragon and utilize them with All Is Found, it's a big deal. Maui is a card that once it turns sideways once, it kind of can stall the board out. Well, if I can just sing All Is Found with Maui Hero to All or Maui Shark, that's phenomenal. It's kind of just doing a lot of great things. So I really think that All Is Found is a huge winner in all this because it's a card that went from seeing no play at all to being in the winning deck of a 128-player tournament. So huge shout out to All Is Found. I think that's a card that if you haven't yet, you should definitely give it a shot. I've been playing it again since day 1 of set 7 release. I went to my local game store, 7 Dimensions, and I brought an All Is Found Ink Geyser deck, and it was fun. The card's very good. Of course, the other winner here is McDuck's Manor. Again, winner of the 128-player tournament. Kind of one of the other reasons why Kiwi can still really get through the game if they can kind of manage it pretty well. You can, gain lore through McDuck Manor. There's also versions that play mines and things like that. So there's different ways to kind of like deliver this card, but it basically has become the functional win condition right now for that Ruby Sapphire deck. And it's going to be one of those just like, I'm going to protect the manor, very similar to how to protect the castle. So I think it's very easy to say that McDuck's Manor was, a pretty big winner in the Hiram ban, because now you have to just be able to play on a different scale and just like say, hey, I'm going to do my very best to get the most out of these 4 resources and this 9 willpower. So yeah, pretty nice. There's a couple, right? But if you're new, you're coming in the chat today, and we want to continue to talk about this, right? Like the question of the day is, how do you feel about Duel Link cards? Now, listen, I just did a whole thing, right? We just named a couple things here, and there were no Duel Links that I've mentioned so far, right? Like I don't think that the Ruby Sapphire ones are mentionable. Like Emerald Steel Pete is kind of okay, but I'm even seeing versions of that deck that's not even playing 4 of them. So, I'd love to know, like, what are your feelings? How are we feeling about Duel Link cards in general? I love Duel Link cards, but we need some better cards out of them. Okay, that's fair. Do you guys think, is it possible, I should say, is it possible that when you lock them into the Duel Link, right, and you say that this is this card, is it actually possible that some of these cards that we, if you guys were there and they did original stage thing in the Discord, and they talked about why this card had to be locked to this ink combo because it would just be too good anywhere else. I mean, do we still feel that? You know, like, is Ink Geyser really this like incredibly demoralizing card that everyone really built up to be and thought it was going to be? You know, I don't think so, right? Like, and in some ways, I hope, I hope that like some of these cards come out, right? But I don't know, you know. And I let's see, I still think it's a great thing for the game long term, but not a ton have cracked the meta. Maybe just Diablo. So yeah, Diablo, the 2-drop Diablo, he got, you know, a little bit of love there. I don't know how good he's still going to be, you know, in a world with all of these evasive threats and Peter Pan Shadow, right? The card might not be that good anymore. It might actually be a liability in your deck. So we'll see. We'll see how it ends. I agree. I don't think it changed very much, which is kind of upsetting. You know, I'm a big fan of new mechanics making an impact. I remember when Sing Together came out, and, you know, aside from Under the Sea for a period of time there, and then eventually when Maui Shark came out, A Pirate's Life, like, how many Sing Together mechanics do we really see on screen in competitive play? Very, very little. So I feel like it's a couple times in a row that we might have been just a little too nice in terms of like restraint, right? Like we talk about we want good cards, we want playable cards, but when you make a new mechanic and it seems to fall flat, I don't know. I don't like them, as I feel there is only one right now seeing play, and that's Cobra. Well, okay, maybe Iago. Iago is not a dual link, right? Like, he's just an Amethyst card, not a thing. So what do we got? Some of them will get better, like Mufasa is clearly hurt by no shift target. Yeah, but I still think that Mufasa is a limited card. I don't think that card is going to be a constructive playable card. I'm not feeling that. If anything, I like that dual link cards lend themselves to specific themes. While I agree with this, I wish that it actually pushed those themes. I'm a huge fan. Listen, we're playing a Disney game, right? Like, Disney Lorcana is a Disney-themed game, and how many decks out there are based on a theme? Like, it's just not a thing, you know. Like, all the princess synergy, not good enough. If we want to say that Sword in the Stone is a theme, then yeah, I guess we've lived that life for forever. But like, how many diehard Disney fans are like, "Oh my God, Sword in the Stone is my life"? It's not that many, in my humble opinion. I know you're out there. I know you exist, but it's pretty low, you know. I always make this joke. It's not really a joke. It's just the truth. If you ask me, the perfect audience for the game is someone that loves Frozen. All right. And like, I don't know, is there a Frozen deck out there? Is there ever been a playable Anna made? Like, the 2-cost 1/4 that gains plus lore for a hero is the closest thing I think we have to a playable Anna. No. Olaf was playable in chapter 1 as a 1-cost vanilla, right? Like, he's just stats. Like, I'm just saying, there's like all of Encanto, right? All of Encanto. Do we even play a card from Encanto? Like, I just think that if you were going to double down and you were going to make these dueling cards for these themes, they could have been better. We could have pushed them a little bit more. Would we have been in the worst position ever if all of the Amber, Amethyst, Encanto cards were just a little bit better? You know, I don't think so. I really don't. Yeah, I agree. This is the winner, right? Like, this is exactly what I wish we had more of. Is that I don't think Lady is actually the answer. I think Lady kind of like fell off, but Tramp, you know, like, that card is the embodying that deck, and most of the decks have actually taken Lady out of it. So maybe that card's not as good anymore. But Tramp is definitely the card that we have kind of leaned into, right? So I think that would have been a great idea of just like that example of saying, hey, we can do this. It's possible. But like, why couldn't we do it for more than like just one theme? That's kind of just where I'm at, right? So far, I like Milana. It has the most playable cards. It's probably true. Unfortunately, right? Probably is true. They unfortunately went a little weak on the power level of duelings. Did the Amber Sapphire ones? Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. And like, if we're gonna have that many Amber Sapphire puppies, like, We could have at least made that, I don't even know, a tier 2 deck. Like, it's just not there. It's just not there, right? Little Mermaid Amber Emerald is pretty good. Is that like close enough? Is there enough Ariels and Ursulas, I guess? Maybe that's fair. Maybe that's close. I guess that's kind of close, I could see that. I don't know. I just think I just wish they had pushed them a little bit more. Just in general, I think it would have been really cool if this set came out and if all the best cards weren't just Sapphire cards. It would have been fine. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, okay. All right. Ready? Let's get back into it. Let's talk about the winners. There's some more, right? So our Steel winners this past weekend were without a doubt Doc Bold Knight, Helga Sinclair, and Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood. All of these cards were absolute standouts this weekend. It's really funny to think a card like these cards in general can kind of come out, but all of them saw play. All of them were in top 8 decks. Some of them were in multiple top 8 decks. Obviously, Doc had a huge weekend. Helga was a nice card. This is like kind of a sweet card in general that I think was just being held down because it was unnecessary to the metagame. But now all of a sudden, when you start talking about all of these evasive characters, that all these Amethyst decks and all these, Emerald decks that are bringing, Helga starts to look like a really, really annoying card. When your opponent goes shift turn 2 Diablo and your response is Helga Sinclair, what do? They're just like, great. How do I get rid of this card? It gets the challenge through my cove. Like, I don't like. How do I literally interact with this card? I love it. I think that's really sweet. I think Robin Hood coming back is pretty awesome. This is a card that people loved in the Into the Inklands metagame, also into the Ursula's Return metagame. And it's kind of fallen off, really hasn't seen much love. It's popped up here and there, in the meta reports and stuff like that. But in general, it's been pretty down. This past weekend, Robin Hood came out to play. If anything can be found from a Hiram, is that 6 willpower is a big deal. And turn 3 6 willpower is a big deal. Robin Hood can shift on turn 3 and put himself into play and be annoying, much like how Sapphire decks were playing a turn 3 Hiram and drawing a million cards. It's a different type of resource, but it's still saying like, hey, I eat all your 3 drops. I have 6 willpower. I get to gain lore while challenging, and I get to draw a card when I'm banished. So like, he's doing a lot of things. He's checking a lot of boxes. I think he's pretty happy to kind of be there, right? Like, I think he's pretty happy. Helga Sinclair in a cove can banish all 4 daisies. Very true. Very true. Of course, Doc, in my humble opinion, is now one of the kind of best draw mechanics in Disney Lorcana. In any world where discard is a deck that you have to be worried about, Doc is a phenomenal answer to those decks because it allows you to kind of like get through the game, resource management as well, and then play a card, lets you draw cards, and lets you immediately get back into board presence. So obviously, Doc is another one of those funny answers to the Diablo discard decks because, like, for 2 costs, you just get to draw 2 cards, and you put a body into play, which is sweet, right? I'm not disrespecting Rapunzel in any which way. I'm just saying that this Doc is one of the ways to draw cards in the format, and it's definitely beneficial. Ironically, it works best in the world with her, right? And there you are. There's our Amber winners, guys. I got Rapunzel here. She's a big winner. Hiram's gone. How do you draw more than 1 card ever? Well, Rapunzel's the answer. You can draw 3 cards when your opponent allows you to, but that is a big restriction, right? While she came out to play this weekend, while Amber Steel Songs was pretty successful, Amber Steel Aggro not as much, but Amber Amethyst also came out with a Rapunzel deck that had a pretty good amount of tops. And yeah, honestly, this is just a fact, right, Christian? How do you get better than these cards? I don't think you do. I don't think you do. So yeah, Daisy Duck. Anyone watching the ICL last night? Guys, watch the ICL last night. The first 2 rounds were literally Daisy Duck games. Okay, like turn 1 Daisy, turn 2 Daisy. We're just like, what is your opponent gonna do? And the answer was lose the game. So Daisy Duck was obviously a huge winner. Nicely to see it displayed, but Rapunzel, again, when you talk about losing such a card draw mechanic in Hiram, everyone kind of starts to look for other ways to draw cards. And Rapunzel's been the OG. She's the reason why every Amber deck costs more than $200, because you need a playset of Rapunzel to play the deck. You can't play Amber decks without Rapunzel. And if you are, you're probably making a mistake somewhere in deck creation, because the card is just that good when it works. So yeah, I would say that this is a huge win for it. And honestly, the Amber Amethyst deck that's covered in the meta report that's coming out tomorrow, it's a deck that I've been studying a while, like pretty much a whole lot, and I've been on a lot of conversations based around the deck. It's a really cool deck. It's a deck that we've never really seen before that's been successful in the metagame. Of course, Chris Anderson's been talking about it since Azurite Sea, but this weekend it really got to hit tables and got to, I think it had like 3 or 4 top 8s or top 4s in different events kind of over like around the nation. So I think that's kind of cool. So yeah, these 2 cards for Amber, they seem like a duh, right? Like they're just 2 insanely good cards. Either one of them, normally when you can run away with the game, like multiple daisies, just run away with any game. On average, when you can draw 3 cards with Rapunzel, you're starting to run away with the game. So both of these cards are just huge. She's $60. My bad. She's $60. I believe you, though. I really believe you. Rapunzel will never be banned or errata. They will never ban Diablo due to it's a legendary and it's also enchanted. So, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with the because it's legendary, because it's enchanted. I think that if it were honestly a problem, like mistakes are made, So I don't think it's worth. The most common question it is, and it's like it doesn't exist. You can replace Rapunzel, but you can't. It's too good, guys. It's just too good. Julieta, right? The mom from Encanto. She draws a card, not 3. 1 card. It's not the same. It's not the same. I had fun. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. What's your opinion on Ravensburger maybe introducing set rotation format? We'll come back to that. I'll tell you what. We'll put a pin in this one. All right. If I don't come back to this when I'm done the cards, comment again. I'll remember. I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Yes, this is not it. It's not it. She's not a replacement. It's just not a thing. It's not a thing. All right. So last but not least, Amethyst winners. Amethyst had a lot of winners, guys. All of these cards on screen this weekend, and honestly, there's more than this. I didn't want to fit any more cards. But I know I'm so bad at it. Like, I'm so bad. You got to remind me. When we talk about what Amethyst is doing, and we talk about Peter Pan Shadowfinder, this is a card, and I'm being really honest. This is a card that I was a hater of in set 4. All right. People were playing this card. They wanted to answer Diablos. And I was like, this card is not a good answer Diablo. It's an uninkable. It's just like, it doesn't have any cards that like really work with it or interact with it. And now all of a sudden you got Iago, Genie, Elsa. We talked about Helga. We talked about Moana. Like the list, we talked about Maui Shark, right? Like, Maui Shark plus Vitalisphere has been a combo that, Blue Red's been living on. Well, now we just get to put a dude in play that gains lore, and it interacts with all these other cards and makes them all so much better. Peter Pan Shadowfinder, I think, without a doubt, is the biggest winner from the Hiram ban, because when Hiram was banned, as a community, we all said, and I do mean this, like as a community, we all said, we're not going to lose the Diablo this weekend. And he was just the forefront of it. I love it. I love that, like, inadvertently, we figured it out immediately. Like, no, Diablo, that's a cute bird. Maybe you draw a card or 2. Like, that's fine. You're not going to draw 5 cards. You're not going to draw 10. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, we're not going to let it happen. There's too many cards that just banish Diablo now. So I love it. I think that, these cards really are that good. I think it's kind of awesome, right? Like when you really think about it and see a card like Iago, giant ass bird, right? Like when you see a card like this be good, it's awesome, because it's a card that no one really was really on it. It did pop up a few weeks ago in some of the Emerald Amethyst decks because they had realized, like, hey, people are cutting Storm Mage Ons, and we're just going to put this card in play. Like, honestly, we talked about it in the video yesterday with Nunez. You know, a lot of the Amethyst Steel decks are playing Strength of a Raging Fire, and that's it. Like, maybe they moved to Zeus, right? Like, that's possible that we're going to have to play Zeus now as an Amethyst Steel player. But, like, if they Zeus, your Iago, that's a 1-for-1 trade. You don't care. If they strength your Iago, that's a 1-for-1 trade. You don't care. It only really felt bad when they let the Storm Rage on it. It can't be targeted by Brawl. It's just a gigantic bird, like, it's insane. And all of a sudden, when Peter Pan Shadowfinder gives it Rush, that's cracked. All right, this card is so good. so good. And of course, the library is another one of those cards I think is a huge winner. Rapunzel is something we talked about. Doc is something we talked about. Like, these are cards that draw cards, and library in some ways is like an untapped draw potential. If you can put it into play and your opponent just like can't interact with it easily, if there's less hideaways in the world, obviously with the more Amethyst decks, it has more potential to be answered, but then really you're making them play devil's advocate, and you're saying, hey, I have 3-4 characters in play. You got to deal with these. And if you don't want to deal with these, you got to deal with this library, and you might have to deal with both. So I do apologize. My son is home. We are on spring break here, guys. So if you hear him running around in the background, if I got to move away, I'm going to have to do that. Like, if he needs something, but I wanted to be here. I wanted to be excited with you guys. I wanted to talk this morning, and I really wanted to enjoy the idea that the Hiram Ban made so many cards come out this weekend. Really diversified the metagame. I think that it's crazy. Like, honestly, if we go back to this starting point here of like, this is our metagame. This is the week 1 metagame after a Hiram Ban. I mean, it's insane. It looks so good. It looks so pretty. It's so colorful. There's so many choices. 17 different decks is a phenomenal amount of choices. So you got to love it. You have to enjoy it. And listen, let me know. All right. If you're watching right now, you're watching live. Are you excited about this? Are you happy? If you're watching after the fact, let me know. Is this like the kind of metagame that you were hoping for? All right. I think that's a good question. But while we're here, let's go back to it, right? If you're new, again, your thing. We've been running through this, so, like, question of the day. Let me know how you feel about it. Give me the answer. We'll put this on for a second here. And just vibe with me. Who's into it? All right. What about the Duel Links? Where are we at, guys? All right. Popcorn delivered. All right. We needed a popcorn break, guys. All right. The kid needed some popcorn, but we're back. Let's see. What was our comments here? What do we got? Underwhelmed, but hopeful for the future. I think it's awesome idea, but did not have the impact that RB would have thought. I think as the game matures, more drawings will become relevant. Nope on both, but I hate seeing Amethyst on opposite side for me. Have since set 2, so I admit I'm biased. That's fair. Cobra is sweet. I love playing it. All right. Instant lore. Where did the vibes go? Sorry. The 4-drop Ana. I love it. The one with support. Is that card good? I feel like it's not good, right? I don't know. I mean, I can be wrong. I don't think it's there yet. But it's fine, right? My big fear is that they are going to make more Duel Links next set and abandon it like Sing Together. That's kind of fair. How many have we gotten? Have we gotten more Sing Together cards in the last couple sets, or was that only set 4? I mentioned earlier, the problem with Sing Together was that it was never meta relevant. It was very, very small. And so I don't know. Mushu is a banger of a card. If the color had more card draw, that's not Doc or a whole new world. I agree. How can library be a winner this week when it was never? All right, listen, because I know, okay, I know John here. I know part-time. I know he's a regular here. He knows that I know that he's a library supporter. There's a lot of people out there that don't play library. They're wrong. That's okay. They're allowed to be wrong. It's fine. They can have their own opinion. They're wrong. It's one of the best cards in Disney Lorcana. Just saying. So, like, put it in your deck, guys. Honestly. We haven't gotten any since set 4. So, yeah. So, no seeing the other since set 4. Yeah, that feels weird, right? Like, in a design room, it feels weird that we don't have more of those. Interesting. I like Fidget and Red-Green. I was really hopeful for Ruby Emerald to be good. I don't think it is, though. Sadly. It's a good point about seeing together. Yeah, they did. I don't know if they gave up on it. I just, honestly, when you really think about the mechanic of seeing together, it's super Disney flavorful, right? Like the entire concept design of it is kind of awesome. It's amazing to me that we didn't get more cards, truthfully. Great meta, so happy to be the meta diverse. We are still getting good red-blue finishes, even with mana. Agreed. Only Sapphire Steel this weekend seemed to suffer. No seeing together, no shift special like Diablo. Okay, so for what it's worth, I personally think that the special shifts were a mistake. I would not bring them back. You should not be able to put a better character into play for free. Like, I don't think that's a good mechanic. Diablo for a very period of time was just insanely scary. Again, we're kind of away from it now, but I personally never want to see that mechanic again. I'm fine with that. I also think they will abandon this. I think it's meant to be a core part of game balance. We talked about the Duel Links. I hope so. At my locals, it became purple versus everyone. Around the sentiment, freaking purple players. The Duel Link cards are far too narrow and don't represent how the community plays the combination. So that's an interesting comment. If you're being honest, right? Like, I think whenever you're in a bubble for game design, you kind of have to have limitations and barriers for what something should do. And I think as players, we are consistently trying to break that mold. So really, we're creating that problem as players. The designers are not creating that problem. They're designing with the limitations that they believe are what they want for the guidelines of the game. And we're just throwing rocks at it. So I think that it's okay that a certain ink combination can't do something. What I will say to back it up, though, and like a little bit in your favor, is that I do wish that more ink combinations had, at least enough of an understanding that, okay, let's use Ruby Steel as an example here. Like, I can't draw cards, fine, but what I can do is better than everything else that something else can't do. So, like, can we make the argument that Ruby Steel is the best challenging deck in the game? No. No, because all of the cards that say challenge, all of the ones that would let you break it are uninkable. Like, the moment your opponent knows what type of deck you are, they can just choose not to turn sideways until they want to. And in order for you to interact with them, you have to play uninkable cards in your deck, when all of these challenge matters cards, or at least most of them, are also uninkable. So it just becomes this whole problem. Or all the cards that draw cards in your deck are uninkable. So, like, that's the problem, is that it's okay that Ruby Steel doesn't have draw power. It's not okay that Ruby Steel doesn't have, like, one card that really turns the mechanic on. I think that that's the real problem. So can we just have a nice Amber 6 cost singing song that would provide? And listen, 100%. The idea that is there even a 6 cost song that you even want to play with Naveen? How did that happen? How do you make Naveen read what he says and then never print a song? I'm with you, 100%, 100%. Dan's looking at me, except I played it this weekend. I'm not sure what we're talking about there, Melissa. I'm sorry. Only so much room in the set. Can't include every mechanic. I agree. But I feel like, I mean, honestly, if you look at the game in general, we're 7 sets in now. How many cards are printed with the keyword singer? It blows my mind. You know, as a core mechanic of Disney Lorcana, it actually blows my mind the number of cards that actually have singer written on them. Truthfully. We can't read. Jafar, or JDR, yeah, listen, he can have his own beliefs. Library is one of the best cards in Disney Lorcana. And I'm not, he can have his opinion. It's fine. I just think that if you're not playing that card, you're not trying. I feel like you're worried about making Sing Together cheaper. I'm not worried about it, right? Like, and maybe they are. Maybe that is a bit of a problem, but I think that for it not to be playable at all is a problem, right? Like for it just to be a complete over, even a Pirate's Life. Yes, we can sing together a Pirate's Life, but honestly, most of the time we're just paying 6 for it, or we're like exerting a Maui Shark. Like we're not even really using the sing together mechanic that often. It's probably less than 1% of the games. Under the Sea was the best one, right? Like that's the one where we set up a board that we actually utilize 2 or 3 characters. I just think that, did Mob Song have to be a 10 cost uninkable? 10 cost uninkable? I mean, come on. Let's just be real. Maybe Sing Together comes back next set, just as the Illumineers join forces. That's cool. I'm okay with that concept. I think RG is being slept on. Maybe, I don't know. Obviously, it has not found any real success outside of the evasive strategy. And I think that there's no way in a world with Peter Pan Shadow and all of the Amethyst evasives that deck has any shot right now. So wouldn't touch it. I think Bell is technically Diablo. So we kind of still have the shift for... yeah, that's fair. Maybe that's why that card's too powerful. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They 100% have their vision. So because they have their vision and limitation, we're just trying to break it. Like that's, as players of a game, your only goal in the game, specifically at like the highest level of competitive, is to break the game. And that is the end all be all of what Fortisphere allowed Sapphire Steel to do. It broke the game, and it broke their color chart, their flow of how they intended the game to be like designed and played in. So that's all. We have enough discard to shift cards until, yeah, I'm with you. It doesn't, like Ruby Amber Racers, it only known people, Ruby Amber, like Mufasa. Yeah, what do we get? 3 racer cards, 4 racer cards, plus like the non-dueling cards, and yeah, that deck's done nothing, right? I'm just gonna jump into the mold for Sapphire. I know it. I saw it. I saw the allies. Yeah, exact. Feels very completely gone against how you pay debt. Amber Emerald got, for Duel Link, Emerald Amber got steel draw cards. Yeah, Duel Links need to have maybe. We're not brewing that. It's just not good enough. The library was about, that was about library. Okay, I got you. I am calling you out. No, we're not blasphemy or passing. It's not happening, guys. Singer at this point potentially it's so true. When will we get more never. Never. We don't need more. Straight up. we don't need more. I would love a good Red Seal Challenge gain lore deck, but it's it's a problem. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, guys. We're approaching that wonderful second hour, and we're going to be joined by a very lovely guest. If you guys don't know Katie's from the Lorekeepers Inn. She's also a huge part of the ICL that we very often participate in on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I was there hanging out last night in the ICL. I did the pre-show, did the post-show. The post-show was a great chat. I kind of wish Wonder just posted those to YouTube. That post-show late night show thing is like a podcast. I think it's a great piece of content for people to go back and find. So maybe that's an idea for Wonder to kind of get on top of that, because I think it was fun conversation. We talked a lot about all sorts of different things. Mostly we had a panel of 8 people arguing between the ban list of like should or shouldn't, if it was good, if it was bad, what cards could be added to it, all those things. So that was like a real fun. We love Katie over here at Team Ohana. I will admit, Corey, I was Team Cerberus Den yesterday. Nothing against you guys. I just love Josh. Josh is a great person. He's a great human. So I had to be Team Josh last night. Josh was yes, he was. I loved it. He was. He did. I mean, hey, he won it for his team last night. Close game though. Very, very close game, if we're being honest. Very, very close game. Guess there's technically a 6-cost song. Yeah, right. That's it. That's it though. That's it. It's not good enough, guys. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. There was a time where I really wanted like a steel song that was, I guess, similar to Zeus, but like 8 damage, so like a 6-cost. Problem is, like a 6-cost uninkable that deals 8 damage feels unplayable even with Naveen. And I don't think you can ever make it inkable. But basically, I really, for the longest time, just wanted a 6-cost song that killed Tamatoa Show Shiny, because that card's been the bane of my existence forever. But I mean, I think it's just too good, right? I think it's just too good. Super tough. Super, super tough. I don't know. I'm almost done my first cup of coffee, guys. We've been moving. We've been cruising. Lots of fun conversation. Let me know, right? Do you guys think that did I miss a card? Were there any cards that were good this weekend? That were exceptional that I missed? I would love to talk about them. I tried my best to hit on every different ink. And then I was gonna do a dual link one. Like, oh, here's the dual links that got better, and like that's why it's the question of the day, because I don't think any of them did. I don't think that we can say that Pete benefited from Hiram being banned, because I think it's the same. I don't. A whole new world. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Steel Song came back in a big way this weekend. I think I can agree with that. I mean, 2 of my teammates, shout out to Dick, shout out to Ben. They each won a tournament this weekend playing Amber Steel Song. Miss Bianca. Okay. Miss Bianca's interesting. I think she did shine, similar to Whole New World. I guess that's fair. Crab and Hiram are the main reason I got into playing Lorcana in the first place. Well, that is very sad, Orion. We're going to have to give you some new reasons to be interested in this. Because yes. Listen, I can prove it, guys. I can prove it. Were you here? Look, here it is. Number 1 deck of the week is Amethyst Steel. Yes, it's a tier 1 deck. Anyone that doesn't say this is crazy. They're actually crazy if they don't think this. It's the most performing deck this past weekend. It won a 57-player tournament. And not only did it win it, 3 of the players of the top 4 were Amethyst Steel. It went 9-0 undefeated. The other one, she went 7-2 or 6-1-2. Her only 2 losses were to the guy who won. You guys are crazy. Tier 1 deck for sure. It's not even close. Anyone that doesn't think this is actually insane. Like they're just lying to themselves. Absolutely lying to themselves. Let's see. Even this, I think this is the truth. This is why Amethyst Steel will be a tier 1 deck regardless of the metagame, because the deck has the ability to do whatever it wants. You want to play a quick aggro deck? Great, play a quick aggro deck. You want to play a nice, like, okay, mid-range deck? Okay, you can do that. You can go to the extent. You can play control. You don't even have to play dock. Like, Amethyst Steel has the same level of creativity and the same core package that every other Amethyst deck does, and it benefits from having the steel removal package when necessary. No way this card and this deck is not tier 1. Not even close. Yes. So yeah, Amber and Amethyst. This deck was cool. This is a deck, again, I've been following it for a little while now. I'm a big Chris Anderson fan. We played against each other at CCS a couple months back, and I just vibed with the guy. You know, he was a cool dude. I had a lot of fun kind of with the conversations with him during the game and even after the match, before the match. And his is a deck that he's very fond of. It is in the meta report. We will be covering it. And yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a really cool deck. I think it's very interesting. This is the type of deck that breaks that mold. You know, every time we've ever seen Amber Amethyst in the past, we're like, oh, it's an aggro deck. Like, no, this deck is not an aggro deck, which I love. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. So I don't know that this is necessarily true, but the other point here, and honestly, you know, obviously, this is probably a good transition period in between Katie jumping on and not. You know, we've this again, right? We just recently we updated both of these guides, but the next chapter that I'm working on for the Amethyst Steel Doc Guide is about this conversation. Like, we might have to come to a point where we have to choose between the two. Do we beat Diablo or do we beat Maui Shark? And it's really going to be meta dependent, guys. Like, if Ruby Sapphire and Ruby Amethyst are going to be more prevalent to the metagame, and like if Ruby Amethyst is proving that, you know, Emerald Steel can't exist and Emerald Amethyst can't exist, and then like if like Amethyst Steel can kind of do it too, then you kind of have to make that shift, and you got to be able to play into the Ruby decks with Sharks. For me, you know, for the NACC Last Chance qualifiers, I had 3 Zeuses in my deck, and I hated that card. I am not a fan of Along Came Zeus in Amethyst Steel. I really am not. But I understood that if my opponent was going to tap 6 ink to put a Maui Shark into play, the best thing I can do is just Zeus it. So if that's what the metagame is going to turn into, to where, you know, all these Ruby decks are just going to be focused around being Maui Shark decks, you got to play Along Came Zeus. It's really difficult to play Doc and Along Came Zeus. It, like, when you have Along Came Zeus, you have Genies, like there's a lot of top end uninkable cards there. It's not very easy to consistently like play those games with all of those uninkables kind of like clashing. So I think that if we get to a point where the game is just like way more Maui Shark based, I don't think you actually can play Doc. You definitely can't play 4 of them. Maybe we can play 2. Maybe we can play 4 Cobras, and you can kind of manipulate the uninkables that way. You know, maybe you can go and you can play like a Milan or something. There's answers, but I think typically for me, you're going to be choosing between, am I anti-Diablo or am I anti Maui Shark? And I think in general, it's okay to do those things because as I showcased at the top of the hour, 17 different decks in Top Cut. Guess what? You can't beat them all, guys. No deck in the game can beat 16 other decks. It's a fact. It's just not realistic. So, like, as long as that's true, you got to pick just pick your battles. Be okay with losing to something. Don't beat yourself up about it, in all honesty. That's kind of where I am. So I'm gonna quickly double check here, right? We're gonna check in with our guest of the day, see how she's making out, see if she's getting ready, she's getting geared up. Gonna send her a ping if Discord allows. Hey friend, see how she's doing. We're gonna move this over here for a second, but she should be joining us for a moment here, and we're gonna be talking about a really cool subject. I think it's a subject that is tough. I think a lot of players, you know, have a lot of these issues, and it's when it comes to the subject, a lot of people don't talk about it. And I think it's very difficult. And I think that there's so many different topics within the topic that make it even more difficult. And when Katie suggested it, I was all in, you know, 100%. I wanted to be a part of the conversation. And again, for those of you that do not know, Katie Wentz, the Lorekeepers Inn. You can follow her on YouTube. She's also on Twitch. She's on Instagram. She's on Twitter. She's on everywhere, right? She's there. But we focus on the YouTube because we're a YouTube family here. And yeah, Katie's awesome. Again, she's been commentating a ton for ICL, for Lore 20 Pro, for other avenues. I believe she did Ohana the other day. I think she did, you know, she's been really putting in the work, a lot of grinding, and I'm very happy to see Katie kind of just finding her own way in Disney Lorcana. She's been at it for like, I think over a year now as trying to be a content creator. And we're bringing her on. We're talking so much about her. We're bringing her. We're ready. Here she comes. She's gonna come to the stage. She's gonna say hello. She's muted, but we say hello. You're still muted. You can unmute yourself there if you see it in the top right. We don't have sound. We don't have sound. All right, so it's cool. We're okay. We're gonna figure it out, right? We hit the cog symbol, right? Hit the settings bar. You go to your audio, and you just click your microphone that you need. It's fine. This is what happens when we learn on the fly. No big deal. We're live. We're live. We got some excited already.
Oh God. Oh no.
Oh no, I got sound. I hear you.
Don't worry. We got this. Probably. We're gonna get this sorted.
Okay. I hear you though. We're good.
All right, you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Oh my goodness. Well, we did it somehow.
We did it. We did
somehow.
it.
Now, can my camera focus on me? Please. It won't do it. It wants to focus on that frog bed so bad.
I think it wants to focus on the ditto.
It's true. It's like that's probably its main concern. But how are you doing? How's it going?
Listen, the chat is excited, Katie. All right, we look at it. The chat is excited.
I'm in the building
here for the Lorekeepers Inn. All right.
Yes, and
as Katie would say, you're in the TFM dojo.
I am. Or yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think the dojo. I think JDZ started that, and now I can't stop it.
100%. And you know, we love him. We love him for it. I love being in his dojo, so it's all great. But before we get into it, Katie, I'm gonna give you the floor for a second here, and I want you to give a pitch. You know, what's the Lorekeepers Inn about? Why should people come and hang out with you when you're streaming and doing all your fun things? Give people a little bit of a deal. All right, go ahead.
So, I mean, I would say that the Lorekeepers Inn is pretty much designed to be the anti-single-use channel. I realize that, like, as a content creator, you should pick a lane and be like, all right, I'm a casual, I'm a pro, you know, something like that. I don't want to do that. So the Lorekeepers Inn is really Lorcana, a place to celebrate it in all of its different facets. So I like talking about crafts, but I also like talking about the meta, and I like talking about the history of Disney, and I like doing travel blogs and really anything related to Lorcana I like to do. And yeah, we can talk about it later of why, but I mean, ultimately it's because you should enjoy the game how you want to enjoy it. You. Yes, you. Yeah, because it's a very exciting game, and there's so many different ways to enjoy it. But I also like the meta too. So that's the other thing is like, I always feel kind of like once I'm like, I like to talk about fun things. I'm also like, but I also want to talk about Bucky, get him out of here. That too, you know?
So since you're joining, you're the guest, right? We have a question of the day, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Okay. How do you feel about the Duel Link cards? We're 6 weeks in to having them. What are your thoughts? Where are we at?
Please don't be mad.
No,
they're a little silly. They're a little silly.
Okay.
Because, okay, so historically Duel Link, I mean, you probably talked about it. Like the whole point was like, oh, you have to pick a lane and resource management and blah, blah, blah. Like other games, there's like a downside to having more than a couple colors. And so in generally, you having split cards is to counteract the fact that, you know, you have to be so, but Lorcana, you don't have to be so picky. You have everything zinkable. And as we saw, I don't think there was any earth-shattering cards that they released in the Duel Link format where it's like, whoa, I can't believe it does both these things. So I don't know if that was because they didn't want to freak us out and later it's going to get crazy. But as of today, if you took away the Duel Link and you just made them whatever the first color was, I don't think anybody would be freaked out or notice maybe. And that's my personal opinion.
I think you're right. So here's our, you know, I think you knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You know, and we've been talking about it for like over an hour now. And honestly, I think most people agree with you.
Okay.
And that I wish we got a little more love. I wish they were pushed a little bit more.
Yeah. And it's like, it's cool because I mean, the theory was that it's going to push certain in combinations over whatever that hump is. And I mean, I think like one example could be Baymax. Like Baymax maybe was something, but I don't think there's anything inherently Sapphire or Emerald about it. It was just.
This one's got to be the biggest, right? Like,
yeah, you guys are.
When that one came out, everyone was like, oh my God, like the game is over.
It is over in the sense that you have to start over. It's over in that sense that you're like, you know how we were doing pretty good. Let's start this game over at turn 3 and see how it goes from here. It is the meanest card. I think we talk about discard, but I think this card is the evilest card because it basically saying we're both going to suffer. Okay, let's start. But yeah, that is my thought. And I don't know. I think it's interesting to see. It's kind of like locations were exciting in Inklands, and then they kind of stop. They made, I don't know. We had like so many cool locations that did things, and then after that, it's kind of like, I don't know, locations. And then now we just didn't have locations in the last set. So I think it's going to ebb and flow. I don't know. I think we have to be here for a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, that's a good callback, because we were talking about like the mechanics in the game that came out that like never really followed through with, and locations are, I mean, literally there was not a location in this set. So the idea that it came out and they, for a couple sets there, we got some stuff, and some of them are good, right? We got McDuck's Manor, the Queen's Castle was obviously dominant for a period of time, Library, Seven Dwarves Mines, but as you go down the list further and further and further, then there's a lot of cards that are just blank. They don't really matter. So it's interesting. Duel Links, hopefully we don't get that. Hopefully next set we get more love. We get a lot more of the, if like Amber Sapphire is the puppies, like maybe we finally do get some more puppies. If Amethyst Steel is about illusions, maybe we do get more illusions. Like I think that double downing is probably the way to go. And hopefully it does create some, I don't know, just choice for those in combinations that like do not have one. That's what I would want.
And I think the ceiling is like so high. I mean, we'll talk about this more, and like the game's a baby. And as a result, sometimes like you look at like Cinderella Melody Weaver and you're like Singer 10, and then or I think Singer 9, maybe. Yeah. And you're like, okay, well, that's not that helpful right now. So there's only two songs, I think, Under the Sea and Mob Song are the only ones that she could potentially even help to sing. She can't sing them herself. So I don't know. It's just kind of like sometimes you read a card, you're like, oh, this is for something else that we don't have. This is for a future that doesn't exist today.
Yeah. Needs help.
Yeah. But, I'm optimistic. It's like the Olaf and Frozen 2. This will all make sense when I'm older.
This would have been cool, I guess. I don't know.
The thing
that I always said that I was like hyped about was that it felt like some of the Duel Links had a legendary-esque feeling because of how unique their abilities were.
Yeah.
But
which is cool. Yeah.
Like some of them are cool. Like some of them are very interesting, but they're still not good enough.
And it's kind of
which kind of is a legendary, right? Like a lot of legendaries in the game actually aren't good.
Oh yeah. I mean, the fact that at least every set, we only get so many legendaries in a booster box, anywhere from 0 if you're JDZ Quest, to, I mean, I feel okay that science needs to be done on that as far as like the pull rate on legendaries, because I feel like it was like I could get like 6 or 7, and now 4. I'm like, I got 4, guys. We did it. So and so then when you get it and it's blue and Lady Tremaine, you're like, I need to quit this game and maybe play solitaire. I don't know, something less heartbreaking.
Agreed. All right, Katie. So our subject for today, you suggested. Did you look at the slides at all? Are you up to date?
I didn't a little bit, but I so feel good about it.
Okay. All right. You're fine.
I just trusted you. I was like,
it's a busy day, right? So I helped us out. You gave me the idea and I ran with it. So these are the mental health topics in TCGs that I think are like the 5 kind of biggest ones, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, and I would really want to touch on these subjects and kind of just say like, hey, how do we get better? Which ones do we need to double down on? Like in things like that, right? So
yeah, these slides are good, man. I should have looked at them. These are really good. This is a good deck, and in the corporate world, they're like, look at that deck, a nice deck.
There's definitely a shout out to be made at the end of this about the deck in general, but for now, I'm gonna kind of just send it to you for a second here, okay? And we're gonna talk about like, why did you want to touch on this subject in general?
I think because I find myself in the cycle. I mean, I am a lifetime struggler with anxiety. So I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until I was older, which explains a lot of the anxiety stuff. It turns out if you are feeling weird your whole life and you didn't know why, that makes you pretty anxious. So long story short, we all have our things, our baseline of who we are. And I think TCGs are really cool because it looks like spoiler alert, we'll talk about like there are great benefits, but like anything, you can lose sight of what got you into the game and what you like about it. And I do it to myself all the time where I'll be like, I have to make a video, and honestly, I don't know, and I need to figure out what deck I'm going to do, because honestly, I don't win a set champ that people are going to think that I'm not a real good content creator. And if I'm not a good content creator, then people won't watch my stuff. And if I don't watch my stuff, and so it's like this cycle. And I love that your first topic is tilting, because I tilt myself more than I think any other person on earth. I do it. We talk about it as like somebody does it to you. I'm like, it's me. I'm doing it. So it's really important. Yeah, right. I'm the problem. It's me. So it's really important to me. And it's something where I'm somebody where I generally will act really happy and really positive. And there's times I don't feel good. I feel terrible and nobody knows. And so then I'm like this is my own secret. I'm going to suffer and I'll tell no one. And so I think the more we talk about it, the more like people go, oh, we're all humans. We all feel the same pressure. And then it kind of makes it where we can take a little deeper breath and go, okay, this isn't like a vacuum.
Yeah. And honestly, that's almost like a subtopic of this is the conversation about trading card games and mental health in those. But as content creators, we put ourselves out there on another level, right? Like, so we're opening ourselves up more than like just the average player is, for sure, because we're allowing people to come in. There's a comment section, there's social media, we see comments, we see, in the stream, we're commentating, we see words, like, so we're very much putting ourselves out there to another level of opening those up. And, we could probably have a whole conversation about that too.
Yeah.
But, to start, I think, we talk about burnout, right? This is kind of like one of the first things we're talking about. We're coming off of a ban list, right? And I think the internet reacted, I don't know, probably as expected, if you ask me.
I don't think the internet's ever chill. Like, we're all like, hey, actually, the internet said okay.
Yeah. But like, it is one of those where sometimes you can feel that something happens and people, they get really upset about it. They really they just double down on this like anger. And I feel like you might have been looking for a reason, like you've been like this, like people like, oh, this is the straw that broke. Like, no, like you were just waiting for it to kind of like talk about that burnout, because, it is really, that is right. It's just that burnout. It can be from competitive play, but it can also just be from like any type of play, if I'm being completely honest. So when you have that level, right, and we're so focused, we're so in the game, even in a world where like we don't have official organized play or any of those concepts, we're just so invested in the game that when it's not going our way, when something goes wrong, and it's just like enough of a thing to tilt and to send you on a bad journey, then we're just like, man, like this is not a good place to be, right? So what type of burnout have you experienced? Like, how do we kind of like get through and navigate towards the burnout in general? What do you think?
Well, and I think it's so interesting because, I mean, I saw one post that made me want to have this topic is, so their beloved player Sailor, that's what's going on there. Sailor posted about how it hit him hard.
Yeah.
And going back to the content creator thing, a lot of players feel the need to be like, I have to do this deck. I like this deck. People count on me for this deck. So there's that pressure. And so he posted a vulnerable post being like, yeah, I did feel bad. And I read a comment that was like, no, you don't feel bad. And I think that that's kind of a crazy phenomenon. And I think that repeat of feeling a certain way and that conflict of feeling like you shouldn't feel that way can lead to burnout. Like where you feel like, I don't want to play this set. And you're like, no, I have to play this set. Or, I don't really feel like doing set champs this season. You're like, no, but I need to. And I think that it's like this cycle where we burn ourselves out as players, as community members, or like go to league. You're like, I don't want to go to league this week, but I got to go to league. If I don't go to league, then people think I don't care anymore. And then you get burned out. And I think that it can be deadly. It could be deadly, but it can be problematic when you try to ignore it or you pretend like, oh, that's just a me problem. And it could ruin the game. I see people that are like, I can't do this anymore. And instead of saying like, you know what, I'm going to sit out the set. I don't want to, because like people will be, I have to collect every card. You just feel like you're on this conveyor belt. You have to hit all these boxes or like you failed. But I think now that we're almost 2 years into the game, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. And guess what? We'll all still be here. That's the other thing too, is like remembering and trusting the community that no one's going to be like, yeah, I remember you didn't post a guide last month. So I don't like you anymore.
Yeah. I think I touched on this a little bit, but for me, Continentals was huge, right? Like I put probably more work and effort into preparing for the last chance qualifiers than I had, in all honesty, in most of the DLCs, because around the DLC season, I work. That's like my heavy season. So most of my testing came once we got to the Airbnb and like those things. But for Continentals, it was my off season. I forced myself to play multiple times a week at different stores. I traveled to different places. And when I got to Continentals, I felt as good as I could be about the game and the deck that I chose for the Last Chance qualifiers. Did good, got 2 rounds in, got to the round 3, lost the die roll, lost to a deck that was a mirror match that was bigger than me. That's Disney Lorcana, right? But it didn't mean that I wasn't upset. It didn't mean that like I felt like my efforts were not good enough, right? Because it's just a natural cause and effect of like, well, the goal was this and you didn't hit the goal. So when I got home, like obviously I went to Disneyland for 2 days and, before I got home, which was nice. Shout out to Melissa and Ben and Nunez. And we had a great time. And Jorge, can't leave him out.
Yeah, the mysterious member. I met him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you're on TFM? He's like, no, but I'm Jorge aside. That's a different day.
But those 2 weeks, I didn't make a meta report. Like I didn't really make any content for that because that was it. Like that was my burnout moment. It was like hey, this is kind of where I'm at, and I'm gonna take the break. I'm gonna give myself some time off. I'm gonna let the batteries recharge. When Set Champs comes, like whatever. We'll see if we want to do it. I remember that next weekend, my wife hadn't played the game in a while, right? And she wanted to go to Set Champs. I didn't want to go. I really didn't want to be there. Like I'm like, you know what? I want the weekend off, but if my wife wants to go, I want to make sure that she can play the game and I want her to be happy. So like I will go. And we played 2 rounds and went home. Like I literally had won my second round. I looked at my opponent, like Kylie had lost. She was 0-2. And I'm like, do you just want to go? Because like I'll just concede to my opponent. We can just go home. And that's what I did because I didn't really want to be there today. And it's okay. It's okay to say like I didn't want to do it. And like the truth is that I didn't need to do it. Like it wasn't important if I was in Set Chance that day.
Yeah. Yeah. And the act of forcing yourself to do it can kind of make you resent something that you shouldn't resent, right? Like, I think that that's kind of a problem is the minute you say, I have to do it is when you start to go, well, now I don't want, like, it feels like you're kind of punishing yourself and ruining a lot of things that you like. And the story I'll kind of tell that made me realize that was I went to a set champ and I didn't do well. It was back when there was only 4 cards and it was really stressful. And I got home and I was like, I don't know, dude. I'm bad at this game and like, what's the point? And then my husband was like, well, yeah, but didn't you like have fun shopping for cards and organizing them and then looking at meta reports? And didn't you have fun play testing? And didn't you have fun going to the tournament? So it's like, I realized that by like, also by looking at like the worst moments, I was letting myself burn out because I was focusing on the things that drained me the most instead of the things that made me the happiest. And so it's kind of reflecting too, because I think burnout will naturally happen when you force yourself to do stuff you just don't want to do. So yeah, and I don't think it's an absolute either too. I think sometimes people think, well, if I don't collect this set, then I'm never going to be able to get back in. Or if I don't do this set champs, and it's like, it's not. I mean, this game's going to be around, I hope, for a long time. So maybe you do miss a set. Maybe you do miss an entire 6 months. It'll happen.
Especially when it's a set championship card that's terrible and you don't want it anyway.
I mean, that's been a hard thing for me since Ursula. I'm like, oh, I'll do it. But man, I needed that stitch. I needed it in a way of feral energy. And since then I'm like, I guess I want it. I want it. So,
No, I mean, it always feels good to win. Like there's
it feels good to win.
No doubt about that.
I needed that stitch or I could not live as a human. So,
but I just think it's so easy for us to, we spend how many hours a week testing? We spend how many hours a week researching and watching and do all these things. And it adds up, like it's no different than people. I know it's a tough comparison, but like people that train for the Olympics, right? Like they do this every day for 4 years. And it's like, sometimes they get there and they're like, wow, like this isn't the goal. Like, like sometimes you have Olympians that literally show up and they're like, I can't do it. Like I built this all up in my head and I just like, I'm not there. And it's the same thing. Like when you put so much pressure on yourself in a game to be successful and then you're not, it can really hurt you. But like the real truth is like, if it should be more about the journey, and it should be more about how did I get here and what did I do that helped me, that even wanted me to do this in the first place.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're not going to get the outcome you want, and that's okay. And honestly, if you got to take a weekend off, you got to take a month off, like that's okay too. That's okay.
I saw someone Melissa, the lizard kitty, if you will, posted. She's like, "Oh, somebody asked about your podcast," and then she was like, "Oh, and they mentioned you," and they said, "But I think she's on hiatus right now." And I'm like, "Yes, hiatus. I'm not burnt out and out of ideas, and I don't know what to do. I'm on hiatus." And it's just like funny because, like, yeah, I mean, and then it's funny because I was like, "Oh, thank God, people don't know that I'm like tired," and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and like I feel the need to hide it, and I think a lot of people do because
Yeah.
it's scary to say I'm tired. I don't want to do it because the internet, if you tweet or post or Reddit, don't tweet or Reddit. If you have anything, if you're trying to protect your mental health, first off, throw that out.
JDZ, did you hear that? Don't Reddit.
Yeah, don't Reddit. I know JDZ. I mean, that's a great example. JDZ's like, they're really mean there. But yeah, I think, yeah, if you say something like, is anybody else having a hard time? People will be like, is this your first TCG? Is this your first time on Earth, bro? And it's like, okay, so there are lots of good people out there, but for every like 10 good people, there's one very loud, mean person. And I've spent 35 years on Earth and I'm still shocked when someone's mean. I'm just like, how is someone mean in this economy, in this life? Why are you being mean?
You can't be shocked about those things anymore. Sorry.
It's so hard. Yeah. I mean, you shared that comment you got on your video where people's like, toughen up, buttercup. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why did you sit and type this? What is going on? And I don't get it, but it's still there. So
yeah,
maybe one day.
It's very easy to be mean on the internet. It takes almost no effort, actually. If we're being honest.
Then some people it's a full-time job. I'm just like,
yeah.
Hey!
Some people just that's all they live for. Like that is their goal in life, right?
Yeah.
I do want to talk about some of the good stuff, right? So if we can be honest though, trading card games are an incredible way to deal with mental health issues outside of them, right? Like if you're having a tough time at work, if you're having tough stuff with the family, like any of those stuff, like getting out of your house for a few hours, sitting down with your friends, playing cards on a weekly basis, like that might be your escape from the world, right? And for me, like I will say this, and this is definitely something, it's crazy that it's been 5 years now, but during COVID, if it were not for the Transformers trading card game and for the community that I built like within it and during that time, I would have lost my mind, honestly. Like it was an absolute escape every day, just like we're in the Discord, hanging out, having conversations, talking about the game, playing the games. And it was the only thing that remotely felt stable in life at the time. And that's just like where I needed to be to kind of escape from how awful COVID really was. And like everything that was so bad going around me. So when I think about how important it is to me and like how, some days I get overwhelmed because I'm doing too much, but there are other days where all I really want to do is just sit and play cards. Like I just want to be like, you know what, this is perfect for me right now. Like work's been stressful. Your life has been hitting you in the face for a few weeks. It's just like, let's just chill, right? Let's just play some games. Doesn't matter if I win or lose. Don't care. Like, I just want to like do something cool today and have a good conversation. And I think that it's something that we sometimes take for granted, like having the ability to have friends that play this game and love this game. And you can just talk about it like whenever. That's huge, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to guess you're somewhere over the age of 25. And I will say anybody who's reached, late 20s, early 30s, it is god awfully hard to make friends. It is extremely hard. And one thing that I really like to focus on is that a LGS is like magical for people for example. I mean, it's Autism Awareness Month and we're still in it, right? We're still April. Yes, we're still in April. I think it can be really hard as an adult to make friends because you're like, okay, how do I do it? And I think TCGs and LGSs are so important because it's a room you walk into and they're like, okay, we're all here for the same thing. We all have the same special interest and we all have we don't have to guess, like, what are we going to do? What is a small talk? You're like, listen, I know the rules of engagement and we're all here and let's do it. Let's jam. And it's so relaxing to have a room where you're like, you want to see my cards? And like, yeah. And it's like so exciting as an adult, as any age. I think it's just a special place where you really do get to be your authentic self. I mean, obviously everyone's going to have a story about a time they couldn't, but I think by and large, it's a very, very, very special place to be if you have a hard time engaging with people.
I mean, for me, I have almost all of my best friends in life I met through cards. Like through whatever game I was playing at the time, they have carried over into my life through other games, or like if I go to a convention, like, you know, like a Gen Con, or like a Star City Games or something like that, where they're still playing Magic or they're still playing like Star Wars or like whatever other game they're playing. It's still like when I'm there, when I'm in the building, I get to reminisce with them and say, you know what, like this is what card games brought me. So it really is one of those, like, as much as it can be difficult for us, it also can be some of the best remedies for life as well. So
Yeah. And I mean, one thing I think that people might underestimate, and it's a cause that's important to me, but I don't know if everybody realizes it. There are lots of service members in our community. And one of the reasons why, so I grew up in Bellevue, Nebraska. My family is military. And we basically, one thing I think people forget is like a lot of military people, folks enlisted or otherwise, move a lot. And like LGSs are so important because they're like this place that they can like their life picks up and they can go to a new LGS and kind of like restart something they had to leave behind. So I think like a lot of different communities rely on TCGs and the spaces they provide. I think it's really important for neurodivergent people. I think it's really important for military people. I think it's important for adults that, I mean, it is hard as an adult to be like, okay, where's our common ground? Do you have kids? I don't have kids, but do you have a job? I work from home. But when you have TCGs, they're like, okay, we have something in common. And the amount of friends I have now that I don't think our paths would ever cross I mean, I'm talking to you. Why would we ever talk? But TCGs make it where you meet people and you're like, holy cow, look at this person I have nothing in common with. And now you make these friends and these really important friendships, all based on this foundation where you kind of open the door and then things can come from there. So I think it's really, 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 really important.
yeah, I was just doing a podcast the other night for a friend in the Lorcana Rama podcast, and they asked the question about the team, and I said, in all honesty, like my team, I didn't know almost all of them like a year ago. They're all people I met playing Disney Lorcana, and now there are people that I don't care how I do ever in any tournament I play in, because they're there to go and hang out and have dinner with and just chat with, and like they are people that now I talk to every single day about my life, about my kids, about my job. Like these people, like, because I put myself in a position to play Disney Lorcana, I may have met people I never would have known. I you know, and I think it's crazy that even like on a broader scope, this past weekend for the event that I hosted, I reached out and I said, hey, who wants to come join? And we had 4 people from the community, some of which were never even on the channel before, that just said, yeah, let's go. Let's do this thing together, because like that's the type of community that we kind of have. And then these are the people we've met along the way. And I just think it's phenomenal that we're able to just release and kind of just have fun when it's necessary. But, you know, it's not all fun.
I know. We're like, hey, I know it's bad, but yeah. Then we're like, and back to the person inside my head that beats me up.
Yeah, so I think this is a big one. And I think that on the content creator part, it's huge. And I also think on the competitive player part, it's huge. Pressure, expectations, imposter syndrome. You know, you kind of talked about it a little bit, you know, when we were starting about, hey, you know, if I don't win something, why is someone going to listen to me? As a competitive player, if I don't win something, am I not good enough? You know, like, how much of that do you think really affects the average card player, like in Disney Lorcana? Do you think this is something that, you know, we need to find a way to get past?
I mean, I think it affects everyone, because I mean, even people who don't play competitively think, well, do I even get to play this game? Because I mean, I'm not a competitive player. I'm just casual, and they feel like that beat themselves up because they're not playing competitively. And then, yeah, once you start complaining, I think so. I don't know. There are probably some very mental healthy people who had a good childhood and has been to therapy that they're like, I don't have this. And that is great. I'm very excited for them. But I do think for a large part, I don't think a lot of people can escape this, just because the nature of a TCG is it's a game, and the nature of a game is you want to win. Even if you think you don't want to win, that is why games exist, is to win. So I don't think you can ever take out that element of well, I want to win. And like you can see it because I mean, how many conversations have you seen on Reddit in the past year of we should have a
0. I don't go on Reddit.
Okay, yeah, true. Okay, on Reddit, the nice places, Discords, where people say, "I wish there was a set champ for not as good people," and people are like, and that conversation comes from people saying, "I want to win." So all of it comes back to the fact that people want to win. They feel like for whatever reason it's hard to win, and if we don't talk about the truth of it, I think that you're kind of missing the G in the TCG thing, that obviously it's a game. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think anyone's can escape from that pressure.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is obviously people are too hard on themselves, right? I think specifically in Disney Lorcana, the level of variance that is in this game is kind of unbelievable. I talked about it at the top of in the first segment. There's 17 different decks in Disney Lorcana that were in a top 8 this past weekend. Whatever deck you decide to play, it's not going to beat 16 other decks. You might sit down from your worst matchup in the first 3 rounds of the tournament, and that could be your day. And if you like all of a sudden let that affect you and say like, oh, I'm not good. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not like living up to what my team hopes. Like when you start having that over and over again, and you might be in a rut, it's very difficult to kind of move past those things. Like it's very difficult if you're in, a slump and things like that to say like, am I good enough? And I think that it's very important in most cases as us as a community to tell people like, it's okay. If you are on a team and you see a team member doing that, it's okay to say that like, listen, you can have a bad day. Like you can have a bad month. Like I remember Melissa, honestly, during the Ursula's Return season. I don't think Melissa made a single top 4. I don't even know if she won an Ursula during that. And it was not her metagame. Like she just it wasn't her time. But she showed up to DLC Fort Worth and learned a brand new deck and then won a Let It Go. So like you can have a bad few weeks and just not be successful and feel really bad. But all it might take is some time with the people that you care about to really remind you like you can do anything. And I think that's like a really, really big deal, is that while we all want the best, and like while we can really easily tie that self-worth to a goal or to I for like online gaming, rankings and stuff like that is like a huge thing that people like, oh, I'm not in top 10, I'm not good enough, like things like that. Like I think it's so easy to get wrapped up in what is not actually very important. And like the real truth of the importance is like, if you go and you have a good time and you come away with the good stories, that those are the things that you should attach to. It shouldn't be about, man, my goal was to win the DLC and I didn't make day 2. It's like, that's not what it should be about, right? Like it should much more be like, hey, did I come away from this weekend and I have stories to tell my family? Do I have stories to tell my friends? Like you need to just remove the competitive side from it as much as possible and really just take in that is all the extra credit. Like that is like, hey, if I worked really hard and it paid off, that's awesome. But I can't come down on myself when I don't. It's just it's so hard to recover from those moments,
Yeah. And I mean, it's not fun to think about math, but I mean, do think about the math of like you go to a DLC, there's 2,000 people in the room, 8 people will be in the top 8. So statistically, even if we all had the same amount of preparedness, we all can't.
We'll go one step further, even 64. 64 people make a day 2. It's less than 3%.
Yeah.
Like it's a low number. It's a low number.
So I think the biggest thing is where they say you have to be prepared to get lucky. And I think anyone who says there's not luck in TCGs is lying, because there is luck, because you can know there's luck because we've had bad luck. Everybody can see the, Zach Bibbins LCC match where you got a 3rd whole new world. What do you do with the 3rd whole new world? Cry, I guess?
I mean, he played back-to-back games where that deck didn't allow him to play Disney Lorcana. Like,
yeah. And it's just, I mean, what do you say that? Like, oh, draw better? Like, so, I mean, it's something where if it was that simple, then every DLC would have the same top 8 because they all figured it out and they're the 8 best players. But the reality of it is we play TCGs because we like the variance. I mean, maybe people don't realize they do, but there is a little bit of gambling. You have 60 cards, you shuffle them up, and what order are you going to get them in? So it is skill, because you have to have the skill to get in and out of situations. However, you have to admit that there's some luck. And if there is luck, then that means that there's bad luck sometimes. And just it is what it is. But it's like I have Mulan reflecting something in my deck right now. And it's like her. When I hit a whole new world for free, amazing. When I hit nothing, feels bad. When I hit Roland's Greatest Criminal 9 on turn 2, not good. So gambling, obviously, the highs sometimes make you forget that the lows are there. And I think, when you play TCGs, you're going to have really great matchups and then also not great ones. And that's just the way it is.
I
And
think that was like the perfect segue into, obviously there's a lot of feelings about a whole event, but like we get into just like a game, like one game.
yeah.
One game can really send someone on a really dark path for the rest of the day. And I think the Zach Bivens comment is perfect because like Bivens could have got real tilted. He could have got really annoyed. He could have just been like a jerk in the interview, right? Like, he didn't do any of those things. Like, it's obviously different circumstances in most cases. We're playing for like the glory and like the fun of it in a way. But even in any game, it's so easy to get angry when it doesn't go your way. It's so easy when your opponent top decks a card. And you can come away from a game and you have like two choices. You can, be an extreme jerk to your opponent because like their deck did exactly what it was supposed to, even though you don't want to believe that. Or you can say like, man, that was great. Like, I can't believe it ended that way. For me, a perfect example is this past weekend, and now the circumstances, they're a little different because it was a husband and wife playing in the top 4, right? Or a boyfriend and girlfriend. I actually haven't confirmed that yet.
Some sort of some coupled arrangement.
Right. But they were playing the top 4, and, Sam literally just drew a goat off the top from 19 and won. Max had the game, had full control, was 100% going to win the game next turn. The only card he's going to lose to is a goat or a rose. There it was. You could have got real mad about that, right? Like, it could have been one of those moments like, man, I can't believe that happened. But if we understand that most Amethyst Steel decks or most Amethyst decks in general are kind of designed to get to 19 and win because of a goat, like, that's just life. That's just life.
Yeah. I know. And it's so hard because like I have a problem with my little brain where I want to make everything make sense. I want to say this is fair, this is not fair, this makes sense because of X, this doesn't make sense because of Y. And I think you do have to just say there is variance. And it's really hard, especially if you struggle with a touch of the tism, as they say, because I'm like, but that's not fair. And I'm like, it's not fair. That's it. That's just not fair. And like that's and in the fact that it's not fair, it is fair because everybody has the same variance. Everybody has days where they are on fire. Every card they flip, it's actually the card they need on curve. And you're like, how is that possible? But guess what? I bet they tell you about that game they had where they kept drawing every uninkable and they felt silly. So I think in the unfairness, you uncover the fact that that is the fairness of it all, is we all are at the mercy of the great illuminary and its whims.
It is true. It is tough though. Like obviously again, like we want to win, so when things don't go your way, it's so easy to just be like super emotional. And sometimes it gets the best of it. I know I'm definitely guilty of it. I'm going to yell at my dog for a second here. Hold on.
Well, yeah, I think we all have to sometimes. Dogs, they don't feel imposter syndrome. That's one of the benefits of being dogs.
No, my dog just barks at like, I don't know, the squirrel in the yard because it's in the yard. I don't know.
To have the confidence of a dog would be something I dream of.
I will give a shout out to one of the new TFM members, Orion. I played against him at SCG in Virginia. And I remember we played this game and I was so angry that he just drew the card. That was like the perfect card to beat me. And I was like, I can't believe that happened. But the real truth was that when I went back and I retraced the game state and I like really thought about the game, I think I lost the game myself. And I blamed his deck for doing what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those moments like, yeah, like clearly I was mad, clearly I was tilted. I was also like way more annoyed with someone else, but he caught the brunt of it, right? Like he was just like, he's the guy that was easy in front of me that I was able to like take it out on. And it wasn't a good moment. And I mean, like I went back later on and luckily I apologized to Ryan and said, that wasn't your fault. That was on me. My bad for acting that way. And I think we could all agree that we probably have all done that. I think you'd be lying if you said you didn't.
Well, yeah, because even if you joke, people will be like, oh, of course you have Diablo.
Right.
Like everybody does it, even if they're joking, but really they're like, God.
So it is like, it's so easy to just let the emotion, go, because, sometimes we just want to win. Sometimes we just want to like that. Sometimes you do have that moment. You're like, I thought that one was mine, and it's not. And that's just variance. It's just card games. That's why we play them. Honestly, it's why we play them, because you never know what you want to have in what moment, and like when it's going to be good, when it's going to be bad. Often I say, like, it's better to be lucky than good, but the truth is we always want to be lucky and good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I mean, gosh, if we were lucky and I know how to deal with that luck, that'd be so cool. But I remember on your slide you talked about imposter syndrome too, and I think that one is the other one, because why do we want to win? Because we're afraid people will think you're a big phony. And I think all of us think that, like, I don't know. I mean, and it's tricky too, because you see people who are like got the credentials, like the Zan Syeds of the world, who are like, that guy, who could say he's not good, but you still see people go, I don't think he's that good. And it's like, it's crazy like, I've read a comment where like, I don't think he's good. And I'm like, how, but he's you could not like him, but he is objectively good.
Yeah.
And so even the people who have the credentials are challenged. So I think when you're sitting there and you're like, okay, well, I've gotten top 3 at a few set champs and I'm pretty good at sealed, are people going to think like, well, you're a phony. I don't see any golden Mickeys where you're sitting, lady. And so it's partially from the outside, because there are people who are very excited to go through the internet and be like, just like doing sniper shots at anyone happy, be like, you shouldn't be happy and you shouldn't be happy. But it comes from the inside too, because I'm just, personally, I get very afraid, because I mean, as a lady, I sometimes worry that people will be like, well, what are you doing? Name every TCG ever. And then there's also the thing of, I like being more relaxed about it. So that people might think, well, you don't even get it, because I'm in here, I'm grinding, I'm in all the things, I have a testing group, and you bring a deck. Great. So, and I mean, I'm sure you deal with that because you have a team. So you're like, okay, our team, I have to be good for my team. And then I also need to make sure, we show up. So, I mean, how is that for you as somebody that, you've got it all, you've got all of it, a personal team and brand and all of it.
Yeah. It's really difficult for me in some ways, because obviously I put a lot of time and effort into Disney Lorcana in like a non-traditional way. Like, I don't get to play 100 games a week, because I'm mostly doing content. Like, I probably spend anywhere between 4 to 6 hours a day on content. Ask my wife; she'll probably tell you it's double that. If I might be low. Who knows? Especially when I do Monday night on the ICL, and then I do Tuesday morning here, and then
just keep it
my
rolling.
son is going crazy right now. I apologize.
Well, he's excited too. I mean, we're all thrilled.
And then like Tuesday night with the community, and then Wednesday night I'm going to be hanging out with you on your channel on Wednesday night. I think we're doing it Wednesday night. We'll talk about it later. But it's a lot going on, and like I in most cases need the team to keep me sane, and to say like, hey guys, like if you play games with this, I need to know like what happened. Like I need to know what I should be working towards and things like that. And lucky for me, I benefit a lot from having a ton of experience. So normally I can kind of just play out a game in my head and be like, okay, this is like how it should go. So, but yeah, it's tough. It is tough.
Yeah. I will say someone in the comments said they had a guy explode after losing to me in round 3 of an LCQ. It wasn't fun. And I will say, like, I mean, that's bad to be in that position. But also, if you're ever in the position where you, like you mentioned, you went back and said, hey, sorry. I think saying sorry is like not fun. But at the same time, I've had some of my best moments in TCGs where I'm like, I'm sorry. I kind of like, that was not a nice thing to say. Or like, because you'll find yourself like a joke where you're like, listen, I know I said it's a joke, but they probably don't think that was funny. Like to say, oh, wow, I guess it's another sudden chill. Cool. Surprise. You won. And I'm like, that's shitty. And I think sometimes it's okay to be like, hey, that was my best. Congratulations. I hope you do well. And I think it's hard, but I think as TCGs, that's one of the things that makes it cool. It's a kind of a community where I think most people in TCG spaces, are adults. There are some kids. Yeah, I think sometimes I've had to do it. And I think it's cool when I hear people say, sorry, man, because it's amazing how much that little just humility makes people go, oh, and it makes an experience where somebody's like, man, this game sucks. And then go, well, actually, no, it doesn't. It was hard. And then the person said sorry and we moved on and life is good.
Yeah. Yeah. And that will lead us to our last subject on mental health is community and belonging. it is awareness month, and to me, this is one of the most important things. It was so important that I did literally an entire podcast on it. A lot of times there are players that are there because they want to be a part of something. They want to enjoy something with the community, and they want to be there. And it is very, very difficult on mental health if they don't feel that way, if they feel ignored, if they don't feel like they're included. And I think that is one of the hardest things, in all honesty, in any community where you built this thing up and you want people to be there, you want people to be a part of it. And if they show up and you're a jerk and they don't ever want to come back, that's not a community you want to be a part of either, right? Like we want to create that welcoming just nature as almost like a secondary, just like there for everyone to really feel it, and everyone to be like, hey, like this is why I play this game, this is why I go to league night, this is why I go to DLCs. Like I want to be included, I want to feel welcomed, I want to have that stress relief of just enjoying something that everyone else does, and I think that's one of the more tougher things, because I do feel like we do have some portions of the internet for sure that don't agree, and we have some people that live and play that don't treat everyone like they should be, and I don't know, tell me about like your community and stuff like that. Like, have you been building your local community, and how it's going? Is it good? Is it bad?
It's a journey. I think so. I'm very excited and encouraged by how diverse Disney Lorcana has been naturally, by I think the Disney aspect of it all, because I think the Disney aspect opened the gates where people who never played a TCG or haven't played a TCG since they were like in high school or college went, oh, I'm going to check this out. So as a result, when you go to League, you see a lot of families, a lot of, just people from diverse backgrounds, diverse ages. And one of the things I struggled with inside my community was we had some online issues where people last year around Pride Month, I posted a happy Pride, and somebody put like a Pepe the Frog hanging themselves reaction to it. And I was like, that's messed up. And people are like, well, it's the internet, what do you expect? And I'm like, it's the internet, but this is a group for local people. Like we all go to the same stores.
Right.
So it's like the internet, but
like I got to sit down from you on Wednesday night. Like,
yeah. And I think the thing that's hard is when you being inclusive and being accepting doesn't mean that you have to discount anything you are or cheapen, I don't know, try to make it where it's like, I guess this is a space for women now. It's more about just saying that like, you just kind of come as you are and play the game. And acceptance doesn't always mean that you have to be like, you're right, I'm wrong. It's more just saying like, cool, I'm glad you're here. And just, I think that's the cool part.
It's much more like saying like, it's okay for us both to do this.
Yeah, we're different, but we agree on this. And like, I guess it's like, it's hard because I think sometimes people want to feel like if somebody says like, hey, we accept all people, they're like, oh, so you don't accept me? I was like, that's the opposite of what that means.
Yeah. Like what?
And I will say like the other one that I get kind of hung up on is sometimes in the TCG space, we do a little bit of punching down. There's lots of memes about, look at this guy that dresses so stupid. And I'm like, you understand you're making fun of someone who's like got autism. Like, do you feel good? Like, it is crazy about people who are like, this guy, he's so weird. And he has this like, and it's like, I understand that. Yes. As if you're an adult, you do know that like, yeah, you probably should shower. You probably should wear shirts that don't have like naked women on them. However, if you're just a little weird, maybe don't bully. Like, it's just weird seeing adults sometimes like punch so far down on other people in the community because they're like, at least I'm not like that guy. And I'm like, do you feel good?
Yeah. Now? Like, oh, I'm sorry that you just got the participation award, like...
and it's weird, and I think we need to check it sometimes. It is fun to make jokes, I guess, sometimes about like, someone, if they show up, and they have like a naked lady playmat, be like, well, that was weird. But even then, just, I think the best thing in life, come from curious, if somebody's doing something weird, be like, hey man, do you know if that's weird? And then see what happens from there. But yeah, if the whole like online bullying thing, I always feel is kind of weird because I don't know. I don't get it. And it's also especially sometimes even people who are like, oh yeah, I support mental health. I support this. And they're like, but look at that guy. I'm like, no, don't look at that guy. Be nice. But that's a personal soapbox that I like to stand on because
Yeah, it's tough. As you know, for me, I worry every day about like what my kids are, what other kids in school are talking about, like my children and things like that. And it's one of those, like, I remember when my daughter was taking the bus and she would get off the bus and she's like crying, and I'm just like, what happened today? And it's just like whatever was said on the bus just like literally made her cry. And it's like, when you have those moments, and obviously it's different, I'm a dad and she's my daughter, and like there's that attachment. But even here, there are players in my community, there's players in communities that I've traveled to, that I've met, that it does feel like the majority of the people there are welcoming and understanding. But then there's people that walk in, like during a set championships, if there's a new person that walks into a room that's not normally there and they see this thing and they're like, oh, what do I got to do for this? It's like, dude, why got to be like that? Like, it's not that difficult. Like no one here is making anything more difficult for you. There was a comment on YouTube last week that I basically said to the Discord, was I can't respond to this person because there is literally nothing good that can come from me responding to this person. Like, that is how far gone they are,
Yeah.
And it's like, way to hide behind your keyboard, and way to say these incredibly awful things about this subject that is not hurting you literally at all.
Yeah.
And God, is that frustrating.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
tough.
and it's weird because it comes from adults, and it's just crazy that people can be in this community for so long and then still be like, yeah, but I'm gonna be kind of a jerk. And I'm like, I guess that's kind of weird. And that's why I think like Disney Lorcana has been a little special in the sense that I do think people are very, very, a lot of people are refugees from other games and are taking things, are like, well, I didn't like that, so we're not doing that. And it's interesting to see because it's so homegrown. Like a lot of it doesn't come from the top, it comes from the bottom of people like, we want to see this, we want to see that. And I mean, Ravensburger has their policies and stuff, but so much of like, hey, this is what we want League to feel like, and this is what we want Discords to be like, has just been the community being like, this is what we want. We don't want it to be toxic. We don't want it to be, let's make fun of the weirdest person in the room until they leave. And I think that's very special.
I mean, I don't want to be in a room that makes fun of the weirdest person when they leave.
That's true. Yeah. Right. I mean, I might be the weirdest person. So, I mean, that's the tricky part. Maybe that's why I'm like, please don't. I wore the hat to be funny. It was a bit. I hope you know that. But anyway, so I think I'm very happy and encouraged by a lot of people have been saying, I've seen this, I've learned from this. And that's the other thing that's so crazy is that, there's so many people that have like been in 2 or 3 different TCG communities. And it's kind of like we're in like a 3rd generation or 2nd generation of TCGs at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's 2025, like even this past weekend, I normally count because I get pretty excited about the number. But I remember, the first time we held an event at the Encounter, and there was like, I don't know, 10 women. I was ecstatic. 48 players, and 10 of them were women. I was like, I have never played a card game that has been like this. There's always been like that one, maybe 2, from time to time, but it was never to the extent that we see in Disney Lorcana. And even when you're at like a Disney Lorcana challenge and you walk around, it is staggeringly close to like being probably the most inviting card game in the existence of card games for women. And that's incredible. But we still have people out there that sit down and they're like, oh, I'm playing against a girl this round, it's a bye. And it's like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, stop it.
It's crazy. And it's so funny too, because somebody on Twitter, or it was Blue Sky, because it was a gentler place, said, hey, why aren't there more women in the top 8? What's that about? And I was like, okay, well, how much time do you have? Because I mean, it's like, if you think about TCGs, they're 30-ish years old. Yeah. And so, most people who played them started playing in high school. Think about high school 30 years ago. Was it cool for women to go play? It wasn't cool for guys to do it. So it was like double not cool.
It wasn't cool to be a nerd until like 2008 when Iron Man went off. Like, it's just a fact. Like, we live in a different world now.
And back then girls had to say, oh, I'm not like other girls, I like games. And so girls had to like justify that why they were there. So I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, if you're playing me who just started playing TCGs a couple of years ago versus somebody who's been playing Magic for 30 years, they're probably gonna be a little bit better. And so there's a lot of things that go into it, but I think It's not about saying like, okay, well, we're going to have to fix it, because it's not really something you can fix overnight. Diversity, inclusion, all those things, they're terms that you make conscious choices, but they're like big, and it takes years, and it takes 1,000 people doing 1,000 nice things every day for it to really matter.
Yeah.
But that's all to say that I think it's just doing those little things. And when, you see a new person at League saying, hey, do you want to play a multiplayer game with
Yeah,
me?
sure.
Hey, like, oh, this is cool. This is your first game. What cards do you have? Things like that. And like those little things, it doesn't have to be giant.
No.
Making a community isn't about being like, all right, everybody, we're all going to celebrate Charlie today. It's about saying,
I mean,
I'm
the
not
truth
here.
is you can just like literally just saying, hey,
Yeah.
honestly, like it's not a joke. Like,
Yeah.
Certain players, they're afraid to even talk. They're afraid because of like the potential backlash of like them not being wanted. They're just afraid to even have that. They're afraid of being neglected. So if you're the one to be the bigger person and start the conversation, you might literally make that person's whole day. It might be their whole week. Like if all they want to do is go and play Disney Lorcana, and you just said, hey, how you doing today? Like, what are you playing? And you just have a conversation. To you, it might be harmless. It might be meaningless, but like to someone else, it might be everything.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I went to League, so I brought up the military because my husband was in the military for 8 years. So we moved from our hometown to San Antonio, and then from San Antonio to Colorado Springs, and the pandemic happened. So this is where I say I had no friends. I had like friends that like, you could message on Facebook or something, but not like people where I'm like, this is my tribe. These are people I talk to about things. And so when Disney Lorcana came out, I said, I'm going to go to League. That's going to be my challenge to myself, is I'm going to go. It'll be okay. It'll be fine. And I showed up and I brought Amber Steel Song, and I was like, I hear this is a pretty good deck. And somebody said, I have a starter deck, and they whipped me so hard. And I was like, I'm stupid. And so then I was like, I don't want to play anymore. And I'm like having like this internal panic attack. I was like, I think I'm going to go home. I think this sucks. And someone came up to me and said, hey, do you want to play a multiplayer game with me over here? And then we played a game and they talked, and so now I have a podcast. So like basically that one little act of somebody saying, hey, do you want to play a multiplayer game, made me go, oh, okay, I do belong here. And then I made friends, and now I have friends locally. And so all of that to say is, that power of the hey can make it where, you are the butterfly effect that went from me going, you know what, I'm not coming back here to, giving someone a hobby that, changes the trajectory of how they feel.
100%. Shout out to Gary in chat here. Gary is the lead admin for the Facebook group. I'm a moderator of it, and he says that 25% of the members identify as women on their profiles. In every other group, never broken 10%. That's phenomenal. Honestly, there are 90,000 people in that group. So you're talking, close to 20,000 women in that group. And I will say, like, it's noticeable. Honestly, it is.
Yeah. And somebody, Dad Canna posted about like gatekeeping. And I think one of the coolest things, I say that like I'm a gatekeeper, but it's because I'm there to push everyone through the gate, whether they want to or not. And I think that that's kind of an important thing, is being like, that's why it's successful, is because women will say things. And I've seen it in communities like, well, I want to play, but I don't think I'm going to win top 8. Is that okay? And saying, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, let's still play. You don't have to win, you're still valid. Or people will be like, I like enchanteds, I like princess decks, and be like, cool, I do that. The need to gatekeep can be really powerful, because sometimes I think people think it legitimizes or unlegitimizes what they're doing, and just letting that go and being like, we can all enjoy that. You can be a collector, you can be a pro player, you can be a casual player. I don't want to filthy casual. You don't have to put a connotation on it. That's something we do because it's just something humans naturally do. But once you kind of let go of the need to be like, so what are you? You have a lot more fun.
Very true. As we're beginning to land the plane here, these were the topics that we covered today. But, if you're in chat and you're hanging out with us, or even in the comments afterwards, let us know. Like, is there something that you would really want to discuss? You think it needs to be addressed? I'm very much for having this open discussion in a way. And I think, again, it's Awareness Month. It's a very important month to me and my family. And these conversations are perfect for me. I think that there are not enough people having them, Katie. I was so excited when I read what you wanted to talk about,
Yeah,
because I'm
same.
like, yeah, let's do it. You know, like let's do it.
Yeah, let's get personal.
It wasn't for my first ever league opponent absolutely crushing me and then inviting me to play again while we wait so he could show me some cool lines, there would be no Dadkana. Kindness goes a long way.
Yeah, I'm glad there's lots of people with origin stories where it's like, yeah, I was kind of like, man, this is bad. And then somebody said, I'm nice. And you're like, this is good. Because it's crazy, right? That like we think about like change being like this really big thing. Like you have to put signs up all over your LGS saying, be nice and make people sign contracts. But really it's as simple as just like doing your best and doing like one nice thing a day.
Like literally just being an okay human being.
Yeah. Saying like,
not even saying you got to be like, you know, I don't know, a Boy Scout, right? We're just saying like you just got to be like a decent person.
Yeah, and just be like,
almost the bare minimum. In all honesty, you know.
Someone did say pressure and expectations. I've started coaching on Metafy, and I feel like I need to be topping it. Oh yeah, I mean, we talked about that a little bit. Like that's like a content creator, and it's definitely you know, coaching anything like that. Yeah, you feel like you have to kind of prove over and over again that like I won 47 set champs, follow me, kind of thing like that. And I think we put a lot of that on ourselves. And I do think for every nice person, I think there's one person that's going to make you think that the internet is like that. Because I mean, you'll scroll on any kind of social media and you're like, nice. And then one person wrote a 12-paragraph thing about you're so stupid. And so I think it's your own inner critic, partially because we overinflate people's opinions that are the worst opinion because like they make us so mad and we can't forget that they said that thing that was terrible. But I think usually when you let it go and kind of even be honest with yourself, be like, hey, I'm coaching, but because I'm coaching, that means I don't have as much time to practice. And that means that, I'm honest with myself that I know I put a lot of time into getting ready to do casting and a lot of time into making content where I'm like, realistically, what are the odds I'm ever going to be the best at Disney Lorcana? Because I'm spending my time. You only have so many tokens a day. That's just called time.
100%.
You can't spend it on everything.
100%. I've said this on it would be a false ambition to be a world champion of Disney Lorcana with the amount of effort I give to the game in another facet. Like there's no way possible for me to do everything I do and be a world champion. It's not possible, right?
Especially because I mean, you have a life too. That'd be so cool if you just if you're like, those kids back there, my wife, who knows? I don't have to make money. I don't have to feed myself. So even if we take out the content part, it's a lot.
Yeah, I do want to give it to me real quick because it is one of those where coaching doesn't even have to be about winning. Mm-hmm. Honestly, coaching, very often in times I feel like my best coaching is just mindset for players, like just getting them in this idea that failure is like it sucks, but it's not the end of it. It's really about how do we position ourselves to be better. And just because you're not winning doesn't mean that your heart isn't in the right place in coaching. Like I think it's very, very possible that as long as you are giving the best tips to create players, to put players in a better position to win, then you're doing the most that you can in that situation. So I wouldn't be too hard on yourself.
Especially because, I think about the fact that I had to come to terms with the fact that I am the easiest tilted person on planet Earth. Okay. Like I went to a tournament and somebody said, are you the lore keeper? I was already tilted. I'm like, what do you mean am I the lore keeper? And I was like, oh yeah, like I have the channel, the Lorekeepers Inn. He's like, oh yeah, I was sent your video the other day. I didn't watch it. And I'm like, tilted, goodbye. And like my body floated away. And so I know for a fact that I know the game, I read the cards, I know the meta. When I sit down, I have so much anxiety that I suck a little. And I think it's hard to admit that it's kind of like when people say I'm really good at school, but I suck at tests. And you're like, what do you mean you suck at tests? That's the part where you prove what you know. But it's true that TCGs, you can practice and know things, but when it comes to the big show, it's very different. And there's a lot of different, I get very overwhelmed with how loud the room is. I feel like I'm just going to explode. My husband always he's like, what do you mean you hear all the conversations? Like, can't you hear everyone talking? I hear everyone talking. I hear every conversation. I want to explode.
You're Spider-Man.
Yeah, it feels like it. And so I have kind of come to terms with the fact that I probably am not going to top many tournaments in my life because I get tired, I get overwhelmed, and I'm like, does that mean I'm a bad player? Maybe, I don't know, but I think it's just like being realistic and being like, it's a lot of things that go into it.
I
And,
mean, it's also about your goal, right? Like your
yeah,
goal, maybe your goal is not to be the best player, and that's
yeah,
okay too. Maybe
yeah.
your goal is to just like literally have a good time.
And to that point, though, the coach isn't about. I mean, the coach is to say these are your lines of play. This is how.
Right.
Like, it's not
Right. Yeah,
about.
that's the other thing, right? Not every
Yeah.
great coach was a great player.
Yeah.
Like in sports in general, like that's not always true. Some of the best coaches never played. Like some of the honestly, when it comes to coaching, the only thing you should be excited about is if you can just get the most out of your player.
Yeah.
As long as you know that when you're done, you felt that they were able to get something out of it and become better because of it, or just be in a better like state of mind because of it. That's what coaching's about to me. Like, yeah, if I can help a player go and win a set championship, obviously I'm going to be ecstatic about it. But if I also can have a coaching session and have my student come out of it and just be like, wow, I feel a lot better about myself, that's still a win,
Yeah. And I got distracted because JDZ brought up something that made me think about the fact. I think it's also important to be kind of realistic about. I didn't realize, and this is naivety, probably. I interviewed Zach Bibbins, and JDZ's talking about an interview we did with DKP. These players aren't built like us. Their days aren't like us. Their minds aren't like us. And that's good because it's so great. We get to watch them and they share their knowledge and it's wonderful. But I mean, yeah, JD, he played 200 matches since Hiram was banned. And they like this. First off, I mean, that's their hobby, and also they do it for whatever motivations. But I mean, if you're not being honest with yourself about how much time these players put in versus how much time you put in, then how can you expect the same results? And that's not a mean thing. It's just being realistic that you're in a room with people who, some of them, that's their full-time job, is to be a player and to do only TCG related things. And be realistic that, I mean, if you have a full-time job and you're a parent, how could you compete with that if you're not even in that stratosphere?
I've won a world championship. I know what it takes to do it. And I also I know that I don't have that same level of ambition to do it again, but I have it for other things. But like Zach Bibbins putting the effort in, it's not a shock that he has the results he does. DKP, it's not a shock that the results he does. Zan, these players, that is their goal. Like that is their job. In all honesty, you can even see it more now. When you talk about it in a world where there's no Disney Lorcana challenges, they're still traveling to these other events. They're still participating. They're giving it their best effort, even when the stakes are lower.
Yeah.
You can't get that from every player. They're players that are qualified for Worlds that they haven't played in a real tournament since Continentals. And I'm not throwing shade at them, but in my opinion, they're not trying very hard to become world champion.
Yeah.
These other players are, and that's just a fact. Like if they're still committed to traveling and being in the competitive community, like they're trying harder than you. And if you show up to Worlds and you don't succeed, you're going to regret that, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. And you can't be like, oh, of course Stan won. It's like, well, look, he's kind of doing a lot over there. He's kind of working a little bit. So I think, it's about understanding that we all have a certain amount of hours in the day. We all have certain priorities, and it is what it is. I mean, that sounds really dismissive, but at the end of the day, there are going to be people who put in all their little day dollars into being the best at Disney Lorcana, and there'll be people that put their hour dollars into making silly videos, and other people who put it into just relaxing, and they're all valid. It's just, you need to choose what makes you happy, which is hard.
Boom.
It's a journey.
The final hit on mental healthness.
I know.
Do what makes you happy. And as community, as players, just be kind.
Be nice, and not like super nice, just like, normal nice. You don't have to be a hero. Just be like not mean, I think is usually a good goal.
Yeah, I agree. Katie, one more time. Tell us, who is Katie Wenz? What is the Lorekeepers Inn for all those that have been hanging out with us this wonderful early afternoon?
Yeah, well, the Lorekeepers Inn is a place to talk about anything. I did an episode, if you guys are interested in this, I did an episode with my husband, who's a psychiatrist, on this topic about, neurodivergency. Why are there more neurodivergent people in TCG spaces? How to recenter after a loss. So that's an episode I'm very, very proud of. So that's on my YouTube channel. But you can also find me on every social media platform ever, except for probably some of them. And yeah, I always love to chat about all of it. I love the whole spectrum of Disney and the whole spectrum of the people in the community.
I love it.
Dan, where can we find you?
Right here.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, we're good. That was
Okay.
easy.
I will say, well, before we get out of here, I need to give a shout out to the wonderful Tragic Hero Gaming. He's been hanging out with us in chat today. His name is Ruben. This was his story he told earlier. The PBN TFM Pave, near and dear to my heart, Mr. Pave, spent time teaching me how TCG and cards work. Really helped me fall in love with the community. Well, we love Ruben here so much because if anyone's been paying attention today, it looked a little different today, guys. We got some new colors going on, some new slides. The thumbnail was different. The huge shout out to Tragic Hero Gaming here. He put in a lot of work, a lot of effort, and I am so excited to share some of these new things that he was able to make for us and create for us. And this is let's remove that one, remove this one, add this one back. This is his Instagram. It's a little new. It's fresh. If we want to give him some love, give him a follow. He does incredible work. I can't wait to share more of the work that he's done. You guys will see it tomorrow on the meta report, the new thumbnail for the meta report. He got us, which is, I think, the biggest takeaway, is that he did the research. He studied what we do and like how we could implement and like really showcase us as a brand. And I was so very impressed with him, and I'm so very excited to know Ruben and for him to kind of like be a part of TFM in his own little way. It really means the world to me. So seriously, go hit him up on Instagram, give him that follow, check out his work, check out his kid. I hear his kid's pretty phenomenal at Disney Lorcana, 10-year-old prodigy possibly. So again, thank you so much, Ruben, for hanging out with us this morning and for all the work that you've done for TFM. I gotta love it. But Katie, it has been a wonderful morning for you. Afternoon for me. We had our cups of coffee. We had a great chat.
Oh.
And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited. I finally got to go to Friendship Mountain. You've come to the Lorekeepers Inn. I've been to the mountain, so it's a joy. So I appreciate it.
And well, are we doing tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'm gonna send out what to be prepared.
Hold on. Don't say a word yet. All right.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, live on Twitch. The Scorekeepers win, right? That's what it's called.
Mm-hmm. Very creative on my end.
2 weeks ago, I sat in this very chair that I'm sitting in now, and my wife was in the bedroom, and we could hear each other laughing hysterically. It is gonna be so much fun. I am so excited to go and be back in the Lorekeepers Inn and just have a great time. I'm so excited. You have no idea.
Yeah, I'll give a little. I haven't announced the lineup, but I think you deserve it. It's gonna be you. Rebecca Quest,
yes,
Rose, and Color is Law.
What was it? Who was our third?
Rud Rose and Color and Law.
Oh, okay.
Rud Rose, who recently made a Hamilton thing. So I was like, this guy might.
Yeah. He's got a couple nice parodies out there that are definitely comical.
And then we got Colors.
I get to hang out with Rebecca and Ashley and Rudy. All right.
Yeah. So it's gonna be so here. Yeah, this is the real test because last week we had. We had Luke, who had a lot of chaotic energy. So now we're gonna see. Will this be a calm Scorekeepers win? We don't know, but either way, it'll be take two, and I'm very excited.
Do we know the teams yet? Do I get to pick? Can I pick who's on my team?
I'm gonna tell you tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
You don't get a pick. That's the thing is, I was gonna be like, oh yeah, I'll have like you and Kylie on a team, but it's like, no, I want the chaos.
Okay.
I'm trying to see, is chaos better? Is not chaos? That's why I couldn't have a JDZ.
I think it goes either way.
Yeah. And also I was like, oh yeah, what if you guys are competing against each other in your own home? I was like, we'll see.
No,
we got so many Wednesdays.
Great.
We have so many Wednesdays. So that's the good news.
Well, I'm very excited, and you guys should definitely check out Katie on everywhere you can find her. She will definitely be in the description below. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with today. Chat, you were phenomenal. And we will be back, tomorrow night, ICL. We'll be hanging out on ICL for the post show, and then I'll be hanging out on Katie's channel. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you again so much, Katie. You're welcome anytime, of course. Yeah. We will catch you guys in the next one. See ya.